Right. Hey, everyone. So we are on location here in Glendale. We are at the installation of the LG M3 and just making sure, checking audio. Everyone hear me okay? Check, check, check. When it's on site, anything could go wrong. That's why it took a while. So I brought two different HDMI cables just in case one of them failed. And lo and behold, one of them did fail, right? So you always have to have a backup. Anyway, welcome to the show. Today we are doing a live stream. So come with your questions. Absolutely. And guess who else is here? We have Technodad, Chana. We have, of course, Brandon, be the installer. This is the home where Brandon is installing a 97-inch LG M3 OLED. So this is LG's best OLED in a sense that it uses its latest technology, right? Now, unfortunately, 97-inch does not have the MLA, but it does have LG's, I guess, considered the best, the only zero connect box. We're talking about a wireless connection between the TV and the input output box, right? So the box looks kind of like a Xbox Series X, kind of squarish, tallish, like a trash can. And you got three HDMI ports. And right now they are outside this home unpacking the 97-inch monstrosity. And as we get closer to the actual installation, I'll turn on my second camera. And right now I have everything out of the way so they can move it in because it is 97 inches, right? I mean, it has to go through this huge door over here, which I will show you right now. That's the door it has to go through. And they will get in here, get everything set up, and then I will set up the second camera, add their installation to it. And this is going to take a while. Last time we did this, it was a 98-inch Samsung QN90A. That took all day. I think it was 6 p.m. when they finished. And I hope this time it's not going to take that long, but could be 9 p.m. So it could be a long one. Hopefully you guys are okay with that. You know, come and go as you please. I want to definitely see what the 97-inch looks like. So expectations are it's going to be very similar to the G2 without the MLA, but it's 97 inches of OLED. Now, it does have the latest color booster, software-based, slightly brightening certain areas, a little contrast enhancement, but at 97 inches, right? We're talking immersion. So you guys know how much I love the 100-inch TVs. So this is the 97-inch OLED. So whether you get the G2 or this M3, I'm pretty excited to see how that immersion is. And it looks like where they're sitting, the sofa is about 10 feet away. So that's perfect, I think. 97 feet, 10 feet away. You know, is it too big? We'll see. It's going to be quite exciting. So whose house is this? It is Mr. Irfan's house. Now, he's generous enough to let us shoot, right? Not a lot of people let us come in here and kind of make a mess of this place. We have three YouTubers here again, Technodad, myself, and Brandon. And we're just gonna do our thing, right? So I'm the only one doing the live stream. Of course, Brandon will have his entire shoot later once he's done editing and all that good stuff. But right now, I'm just gonna stand out of their way. They got the hammers and everything, and oh, this is like real work here. Be the installer doing the installing. In the meantime, you know, come with your questions. Let's talk about 2024 TVs, maybe. What do we expect at CES? We'll have a live stream dedicated to CES 2024 next weekend. I haven't posted it yet, but Brian and I, we're gonna sit there. We're gonna talk about what do we expect? And if you hear a little noise in the background, that is because we also have Technodad and Brandon shooting. So let's see any questions you guys got. And this is a total YouTuber invasion of his home. And it's a beautiful home, right? The home matches the 97-inch M3, no doubt. Just seems pricey for wireless technology, Kimberly says. I agree. So you have to think of it this way, Kimberly. When your home is beautiful, right? And cost is no object. Basically, you're designing to a certain look and you want convenience. Having everything connected behind your TV is possible, but then you have to either run it through the walls, have all the wires certified to be running through the walls, which is not always easy. And then you have to run the HDMI out through the back of the wall somewhere else. And if you ever have to replace a wire, you know what I'm talking about, it becomes a mess. And if you don't run it behind the walls and you run it outside, it does not look perfect. And so this homeowner decided, you know, All I want is at most a power connection, which is what you have. And you can hide the power connection behind the TV on the wall, right? Plug that in. TV is clean, no wires coming out, and then you have all the input output on a separate box wirelessly on the other side of the house somewhere, right? As long as there's a line of sight between the TV and the input output box, then you're okay because the input output box and the TV, that's where all the communication is, but all your wires run through the box and the box is somewhere in a corner. And now you have a clean TV installation. Now, the question is it worth whatever, an extra 5,000 because a 97-inch LG G2 is already 25,000. So are you paying that much more for the wireless part? I mean, you're already out 25, 26,000 for the G2 at 97 inch. Making it an M3 is just a few thousand more of that. So it's almost like a throw in, right? Now, if you go into a 77-inch MLA M3 from a G3, yes, I agree. I think you're paying quite a bit for that box, a few thousand for sure. But at 97 inches, yeah, why not? That 100-inch Hisense looking pretty good now. And remember, guys, stop and think about how much the Hisense cost, right? 3,500, possibly 3,000 maybe next year, but under 5,000 for sure. And that gets us to the point of a lot of people who have it. They're like, oh, it's not as perfect as hoped, right? I hoped it'd be perfect blacks, this and that. The focus is on the size. It's very difficult to get that size to have the same awesome image quality of a 65 or 75 inch or even 85 inch. The focus is making sure at 98 or 100 inches, it looks good, better than anything else that's a projector, and then take it from there. Now, many people will say off angle, it's not great, and that's a fair assessment. So they would say, well, I'm going to use a ultra short throw projector instead, where you have the special screen and off angle, it looks pretty good. In a dim room, ultra short throw laser projector actually looks excellent. But in a brighter room like where I am, no, I don't think so. I think the ambient light really does mess up with the contrast, even if it's a laser ultra short throw. So if you're watching TV in this environment, you definitely need the brighter capabilities of like the 100-inch TCL or Hisense, the U8K, or the S5 on the TCL. But really, it's also a budget thing, right? And are you willing to get a screen and ultra short throw? A lot of use case issues, but I think it's great to have options for sure. Rick, hey, I'm on an exercise bike, but I'm here watching. I just can't read anything. Don't pass out on this. So let's say hi to everyone. I see that Lisa's here. Leo, hey, buddy. And Brian is here. Hey, Brian. Getty, yo. Don is here. 5,000 for the wireless feature. There you go. So if you're paying 25,000, another 5,000 for the wireless, yeah, it's a price of you could either have an extra A95L or the wireless feature, right? Dan asks, FOMO, do you know where I can find information for the mounting holes on an LG or Sony OLEDs? I already have a mount. I can't move. Dan, definitely, I suggest you call, well, try off Best Buy. They have the specs there, but if you want specifics, you can call Value Electronics. Robert or Wendy Zone should be able to answer that question because they have the TVs right there and they can give you the specs or at least a PDF to show you where that is. But yeah, oftentimes the retailer will have the information for you. Now, Best Buy, I don't know if their customer reps will. You could try the customer rep at LG or Sony, but it's kind of sketchy, the quality of the information sometimes. Lisa, how's it going? And I noticed you changed your avatar again. I love it. Getty, where have you been, man? The LG M3. You haven't heard of the wireless M3? This is LG's flagship innovation for 2023, right? The MLA is great, but they're thinking this is the one. It uses a special frequency that is late, short. It is short latency enough for regular gaming. Obviously, if you want high performance first person shooter, maybe not, but it's good enough. And yes, this TV is on sale at Best Buy. Okay, here's a good question. Asaf, welcome to the stream. How come Sony and LG don't support HDR10 Plus since HDR is open source? So we got two things going. HDR10 static metadata, that's open source. HDR10 Plus, also open source. But what you'll notice is the difference between HDR10, just regular HDR10, HDR10 Plus, very minimal. Yes, HDR10 Plus is dynamic metadata. I do this in air quotes because the visual performance, real world visual differences are so minor. And we're talking, I'm putting it at 10,000 nits on the Spears and Munsell. And then maybe if I'm squinting, I'm like, okay, I see slightly brighter here, maybe slightly more shadow detail. But on Netflix, it's probably unlikely to matter. And I see the same on Dolby Vision. So I can see that other brands, Sony, LG, they're like, why bother? And Dolby Vision is a marketing thing. People love the word Dolby, they include it, sell more TVs. HDR10 Plus doesn't necessarily more TVs, mostly because where's the content for HDR10 Plus? Prime Video supports it, but is there a big difference between Prime Video HDR10 Plus and HDR10? Not really. So I don't think it's a big must-have either for 10 Plus or Dolby Vision. And I can see Sony and LG. Well, LG obviously they and Samsung do not like each other. That's just a thing. But Sony's like, we're having problems getting Dolby Vision to work. You want us to try to HDR10 Plus also? Come on now, right? Good question. And hey, I'm going solo today, even though I'm surrounded by YouTubers, right? Everyone's doing their thing. So if I miss your question, definitely ask it and we will try to get to all of them. Let's see here. Okay. And of course, if I miss your super chat, let me know. Hey, I super chatted. Where'd it go? Because it's kind of tough to keep up with everything. And here's a good one. S89C. This is the 77-inch OLED that's exclusive to Best Buy. And it turns out the S89C is QD OLED, mostly because the owners took a close-up of the pixel layout. Looks to be QD OLED, but it's not marketed as QD OLED by anyone. It's just OLED. They didn't say it's W OLED either. It's just OLED. And many people reached out to the actual Samsung reps on the Samsung site asking about the 89C specifically. And they said, hey, yeah, it's QD OLED. So I guess so, which is great. And it's a similar price to the S90C on the Samsung website at $19.99. Best Buy. That is a solid price because it's very similar to the S90C. Minor differences, I believe, are probably stand, little cosmetic differences, as well as some people are saying it doesn't have filmmaker mode. That is, to me, that doesn't make a big difference. I find movie mode, filmmaker mode to be close enough for most of you that it really doesn't matter. So yeah, is that crazy that they're selling it for such a great price? Hey, Crypto, welcome. Glad you could join us, my friend. Yeah, my friend. And yes, the S89C definitely sounds like Samsung doing what Sony did with the A75L, stripping a few features they don't think is going to be a big deal for most people, preserving what is important, right? The actual panel, QD OLED panel, processor, gaming features, that's it. That's all you guys need. So if you guys are Best Buy close or you're comfortable with buying from Best Buy, highly recommended to take a look at the 77-inch S89C. It's QD OLED, and let us know, are you impressed by it? If it is even within 5% of the S90C, solid, because it's very bright, the S90C. So that means the 77-inch S89C should be bright enough for most of you, if not all of you. Hey, Brandon. This is such a good question. Liberty Hour asks, was your airplane compression body stocking motivated by the last season of Succession? I never got to see all of it. I'll watch a few episodes and then I haven't watched it since like the third episode of season 1, right? I haven't gotten past season 1 yet. So I did not see that part. But for those who missed it, I was telling all of you that I tried wearing not just compression socks, which we all know is great, right? If you're cross-country flight, compression socks helps with swelling in the feet. A lot of people land and their feet's like, oh my gosh, my shoes don't fit. It's tight, it's uncomfortable because of the swelling on the plane, sitting down, air pressure, all that. And so compression socks helps with that, but it also helps with blood clots, right? It reduces the likelihood you're going to have these issues with blood clotting. And so if that's good, wouldn't a full body compression suit be better? So that's what I did. I got my compression socks, I got my compression pants. They're recovery pants. I think the brand is 2XU. Put that on. I had a compression shirt on, right? And so I'm flying. And as I'm flying, right, as I get closer, like, wait a minute, I got to go to the restroom. It's like, and then it hit me, oh, this is going to be tough because there's a tiny little bathroom in the airplane. So you get on. And so now, if you haven't ever had compression pants on, to take them off, there's a lot of wiggling. But in a tight bathroom, there's not room to wiggle. So I'm wiggling. I bang my knee against the little, I guess it's a trash door on the bottom. And I think I banged it open or it was loose to begin with. Well, now it's like popping in and out. So as I'm wiggling, the thing's popping in and out. And then the waitress is concerned because there's all this noise, like bam, 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 right? Like, what's happening in there? I'm like, it's okay. So I do my business, and then putting it back on was the same wiggling process. It's horrible. And so by the time I got out, they're like, is anybody else in there with you? I'm like, no, it's just, I was having trouble with my pants. I mean, it just did not sound good. So after that, I was like, okay, that's it. No more compression pants on the flight. I'll just wear the compression socks and the compression shirt, and that's it, right? But yeah, is FOMO rambling? Dude, I might have to be here for 6 hours as Brandon and the team is installing everything. So, I gotta pace myself. If I jump in, knocking it out, I may not last the full how many hours it's gonna take for Brandon and his team to install the TV. Now, as soon as they get close to lifting and stuff, I'll probably move to a position where I can then flip on the camera and you guys can see everything. But in the meantime, come with your questions and we'll talk. All right, Mr. Mystery, great question. Do we know what LG is doing with their non-OLED TVs? Namely, are they continuing to pursue mini LED or another tech? So here's the problem. Originally, LG Electronics did not want, they wanted to pursue mini LED. So they called it QNED. We saw that 2 years ago, but it did not do very well because it fell behind immediately in performance to less expensive mini LEDs from Hisense and TCL. And maybe that discouraged them. So the following year, which is this year, they didn't do no changes to it. As a matter of fact, I don't even think they released the successor to the 85. And last year was the QNED 85. It looked great, but it had a lot of quality control issues, corner bleed, edge bleed. It felt like LG tried, but they didn't put the same love into it as Sony did with their mini LED this year. And obviously, they were not working as hard on it as TCL and Hisense. And so if you just look at their actions, it feels like they don't care about mini LED anymore. And mostly it's because I don't think they have the resources to work on both OLED and mini LED. Samsung, on the other hand, is very focused on maximizing the value of their mini LED TVs, the QN85, the QN90, the QN95, right? Samsung gets such a huge margin on it that it's worth their while. LG doesn't sell enough, so the margin on it becomes sketchy. The irony is that people in the panel industry, the TV production industry, production meaning the actual manufacturing, not movie production, they felt that it was the wrong decision for LG to get away from mini LED. They should have stuck with it. But what it is, LG is now known for OLEDs, and really their LCD TVs and their mini LEDs have fallen way behind both Sony, Samsung, and TCL and Hisense. For them to catch up, I think the investment might be too much. So I would be surprised if at CES 2024 there's an announcement of anything awesome on the mini LED side by LG. I would be surprised. I think they're doubling down and they're focused on OLED. I think they're going to live and die by OLED, whereas Samsung will continue to maximize their profits with the Neo QLED lineup. And Hisense and TCL, they're just going to beat up LG when it comes to mini LED. They just don't have the resources on OLED on alone. After OLED, LG Electronics, I don't think has the resources to make it competitive anymore. That's my speculation, but I think we're going to see that unfortunate truth play out. Yep. They do need to take time off, but you can't. How can you take time off, right? Market, it moves with or without you. All right. Sony 85-inch X93L or X95L. The X93L does not have XR clear. The X95L does. The X93L is very similar to the X95K from last year. Excellent TV. If you are wanting the best in terms of image processing from compressed Dish Network or DirecTV or cable or just bad YouTube TV sports juddering, stuttering issues, then get the X95L. It is the best available mini LED TV at the 85-inch size money can buy, period. Its image processing is simply amazing. X93L is just a step behind that. So is that worth it? I'd say if you're really counting your pennies, start with the X93L. If you think it's amazing, you're done. Don't even think about it twice. But if you get X93L and you feel like maybe emotion, you feel like somehow there's something there that's annoying you because of the image processing from your streaming content, might want to upgrade to the X95L. But I think you'll be pretty happy, especially if you're coming from an older LCD TV, the X93L will wow you regardless. Okay.
We ready to take this off? Okay. I was gonna say you want to turn the light on?
Yeah, LG will live and die with OLED. I believe that too.
Yeah, right there's fine.
Does my A95L have little scuffs or wear marks on the anti-reflective coating like B showed in his review? I didn't see it on mine. So mine, you have the little peel. I peeled it off. It looked great. I didn't see it. Now, I'll check again, but now it's kind of hard because maybe I scuffed it. So the thing is, if I want to check for that, it has to be right when I opened it. Now I've had it for about 2 months now. Who knows what's happened in those 2 months? But I do remember when I did take it off, I had two A95Ls and they looked pretty clean as far as scuff marks is concerned, but I wasn't looking and expecting any scuffs. But normally when I pull it off, because I got my gloves, I want to make sure that it's good to go, no fingerprints when I'm doing my review, and I did not notice any scuffs. Doesn't mean that you won't get any, it's just I didn't see it on either of my A95L. But again, these are panel lottery issues, right? Just like vertical banding. If there are scuffs, it may have happened at the factory. So yeah. Jonathan asks, how many years do you think it will be before we go beyond HDMI 2.1? 4K at 165, 240. So, Jonathan, let me ask you this. Why do you need to go beyond that spec? Remember, 2.1, the only addition that affects you if you're just caring about movies is the eARC, right? EARC format, which allows for lossless from the TV to your system. And I think, that's pretty much it, or better lip sync. It's supposed to have better compliance and compatibility with more sound bars. But as far as image quality and sound quality, honestly, 2.0B was fine. 4K 30, it did. It could even do 4K 60. It could do 4K HDR. Going that high of a bit rate to what you're saying adds no value unless you're a hardcore gamer. So we get into what you're talking about. 4K 165, 240. Unless you're a PC gamer, it's not relevant. Motion can be fixed at 4K 120. Heck, motion can be fixed at 4K 60 with the right algorithm. So adding more bandwidth when your source, first of all, if you're streaming, this doesn't help. This does not help your image quality if you're streaming. It's already compressed to begin with. Having bigger bandwidth doesn't do anything, right? Because it's 2.1. It's an external source. And as we know, external devices, streamers, are going bye-bye. Most viewers, you guys maybe not, most consumers are just buying the TVs, buying no additional streamers or devices, unless maybe it's an Apple TV, but they're using what's on their TV, internal apps. That doesn't require this level of HDMI performance, 4K, 165 or 240. Therefore, it's only for the external sources, which means PC gaming, right? I mean, no one buys Blu-ray players anymore, and you don't need this for Blu-ray for sure. But even if you had a Blu-ray, you don't need 165. So at the end of the day, the answer is no. Now, I do see DisplayPort 2.0 for gamers, right? 8K gaming, 8K 60, 8K 120, whatever. But for TVs, I think it's an unnecessary expense, honestly. But yeah, let me know, Jonathan, what is it you're looking forward to with all that additional bandwidth on your HDMI? What is, in my opinion, the best TV for text and motion clarity? Currently using LTC1 OLED to see if there are any better options. So, motion clarity. So you have two things, text and motion clarity. Ideally, RGB is the best, right? It's designed for text. So any TV setup where it's RGB, great for text. Motion clarity is, if 120 hertz to me is an ideal frequency for motion clarity. So if you're using this as a monitor, having 120 kind of cleans up moving your mouse around, whatever it is. I think 120 is great. You don't need 240. So the C1 should be fine for that, in my opinion. The question is pixel density. How close are you to the TV? So you have a C1, 42-inch size, 48-inch size, and you're just far enough, that's fine. The issue is if you get a bigger TV, like 55-inch, you're too close, then the pixel density becomes an issue. So it's better to go with pixel density for the text. So if you're a bit close, look at the 42-inch OLED options. So yeah, let me know what size C1. And if you don't have a problem with the C1, there's no reason to upgrade unless you actually have a problem. That's another thing, right? Because it doesn't mean it's going to get better, honestly. Hold out for micro LED. Joshua, if you've been watching this channel, maybe you've been watching it the last few of my FOMO shows, micro LED is nowhere close to being market ready for under $25,000. I mean, if you're in the $80,000 market, sure, you get one next year for $80,000. But if you're hoping for it to be under $25,000, we're talking probably 9 to 10 years under 25, under 15,000. It's just too expensive to manufacture a 4K 88-inch TV for less in the next 5 years. The manufacturing capability simply is not there. So keep on holding out. What are you watching in the meantime, right? Is your plasma going to last that long? All right, Louise, congratulations. After 8-year-old Sony LCD TV, got my first OLED C3, and what a difference. Am I missing a lot by not going with the A80L? No, you're happy with the C3. That's it. Done. Don't even worry. Don't. It's always the grass, always green on the other side. If you're happy with the C3, just stop. Because the A80L may offer something different, but then you might not be happy with it for whatever reason. Going from an 8-year-old Sony, honestly, you couldn't have gone wrong with any of these OLEDs. Even the B3 most likely would have made you happy, right? A80L, A75L, C3, B3, S90C, they all would have wowed you. So you're okay. Just, you're not missing out on anything. Don't even worry about it.
Oh, yeah, that's normal. I don't know.
Okay. Leo, I want 8K 120, and you are so right. So those of you who want 8K gaming, if you look at all the research, 8K gaming, because there's motion in gaming, unless you're at 8K 120, you're not going to see the 8K resolution. It visually appears like 4K 120. First-person shooter, right? A first-person shooter, 8K needs to be at 120 minimum for you to appreciate the 8K resolution in motion. Otherwise, it will look like 4K 120. So what's the point? And so if you guys are thinking of 8K gaming on a TV, don't bother getting an 8K TV unless it's capable of 8K 120. And that's the minimum. I mean, a lot of people are saying, well, maybe 8K 160 and so forth. And what GPU could do that right now anyway, right? So I think we're a few years away from that. and TCL recognizes this. CSOT, their panel production brand, they are developing 8K 120, but it's not cheap. And well, maybe we'll see at CES. So yeah, who knows, right? We might see at CES. Oh, here's a nice update. HDMI fiber optic 8K apparently is the solution on the S95C PC gaming at 144. I tell you guys, we are in the early days of 144 hertz gaming. I don't know if the SoC can keep up. Is the HDMI port capable of that bandwidth? I mean, technically it is, but you got dropouts. So I think 2 years from now, it'll be more mature. But yeah, I'm glad that gaming tech might have found a solution. I just don't know. You guys are really pushing the edge of what's possible with gaming on a TV. How much better is the Apple 4K box versus Firestick 4K? What kind of a consumer are you? If you want, okay, so first, the Apple 4K, the video content that you rent or buy is the highest quality, it has the highest bit rate. Now, whether you can tell the difference is a different matter, but it does have the highest quality. And the apps on the Apple 4K streaming is the best, the most mature. They have consistently the best image quality and bit rate. But again, side by side, you'll notice the difference whether or not they're side by side. Like I use Chromecast, I've used Firestick, I've used Roku. They all look fine to me. But I know Classy has done his side by side in comparisons with the bandwidth and so forth, and he feels that the 4K Apple TV, as well as many others, it does have the highest bandwidth and consistently the best image quality when you look at it side by side. So you have that, but 29 bucks or $16 Fire Stick TV, is it worth an extra $100? I don't think so. But if you're in the Apple ecosystem and you take advantage of the full Apple experience with, gaming on iCloud or whatever it is you're doing right now, their rental with a high quality rental or high quality movie content that you can rent, maybe, right? So it depends on how you're using Apple TV. The average UK viewer has a dodgy Fire Stick they bought on the black market. Okay, a Fire Stick that's not on the black market to me is already dodgy. I do not trust Amazon at all. They are. This is a pseudo soapbox. Amazon, Google, two of the most just exploitive technology companies out there. They're all dodgy, right? But then to buy that on the black market, how much more dodgy can you get? So you layered Amazon with Chinese, questionable Chinese electronics that no one's vetted, right? It's like, I'm sorry, I just find that so comical. Dodgy Fire Stick. It's the worst of all worlds. And Brandon, that's a good point here. I never use TV OS for streaming. They get slow and out of date fast. Would rather replace a stream box than a TV if it comes close. And this is why Sony chose Google TV. So Google TV is the internal app for Sony TVs now. And so if on Chromecast or on the Google TV, on the TV itself, Sony doesn't want to deal with it. They want Google to deal with all the app updates. And so relatively speaking, the internal app on the Sony actually is not bad. It's actually pretty good. It actually is better for Dolby Vision content than if you sent in a streamer to the HDMI right now on the A95L. And so to the degree that that's important to Sony owners, keep that in mind. Like I have a few Sony TVs and I only use their internal apps, right? I don't even bother because I have Chromecast. It's both Google TV. Why am I sticking a Google external when I could use the Google internal on the Sony? But many of you don't like Google TV. You want to use Roku or whatnot. I get it. Here's a good point. No ads on Apple 4K TV, which takes us back to the dodgy Fire Stick, right? Lots of ads coming your way. And Leo adds, the Apple TV 4K has the best picture quality by far of any other. I agree. And it converts Dolby Vision to HDR10 plus for Samsung TVs. I don't know that, Leo. Thank you. That's interesting. So uh, these guys are playing fast and loose with these formats. That's all I can say, right? They just slap. I am certain, this is my opinion. I'm certain they're not really converting it. What they're doing is they're just changing the container, and it really ends up being HDR10, right? But the flag is going to say Dolby Vision. The flag is going to say HDR10 plus. But the reality is you're probably not going to distinguish it from base HDR10, because I think the Samsung does base HDR10 fine. That's the thing. What's the best streaming device combo? No Apple out at home. Streaming devices change in this sense, right? So Fire TV, great. I know Classy likes Fire TV a lot, but Fire TV is also going through some changes now, right? They're adding more ads, they're layering a whole lot more. I mean, is it going to still be awesome a year from now? I don't know. Google Chromecast, I think it's fine, but technically it has a lower bit rate. Roku, I think, is fine, but how long are they going to last? Are they going to be around in 5 years? So really get the one that you like, the remote control or the operating system the best. Just don't worry about the image quality too much. On Sony's, like the A95L, I just use the internal app because I think the Dolby Vision on the external is not great through the Sony. Here's a question I never thought I would hear. What's the best TV for people that love the soap opera effect? Currently have the C1. Sony is not known for the soap opera effect. So not necessarily a Sony. I think the LG does it great. I think Samsung does it very well. So if I was to rank them, Samsung number one, then LG, then Sony. Now TCL doesn't do it bad because TCL, don't have much of a choice. It's either soap opera or stutter. So TCL could be okay as well. And Hisense is fine for soap opera. But I think Samsung would be my number one pick for the soap opera effect. Okay, I needed to get power up here, and I was thinking we're going to use this light and kind of come through where the speaker wire was, but I'm actually going to grab it from the power down there. Oh, good follow-up. I have a 48-inch, 4 to 5 feet away. Notice clarity issues with fast-moving text. Huh. If you're at 120 refresh, your source is at 120, your TV is at 120, maybe you might have to go to 240. Maybe you have to go to a monitor. Remember, TV is not designed to be a text display. First and foremost, it is a TV, content watching. And if this is not clear enough for you, you might have to go with a higher refresh monitor, like maybe a QD OLED that's coming out in 2024, 240. So maybe a 240 hertz monitor that's coming out, 32 inch. That might work out for you. So hold off for that then. Yeah. Are Sony OLED better for motion for movies than LG and Samsung OLEDs? Okay, Simon, this is a very nuanced question because it requires a subjective answer depending on what your point of view. Like the previous question asking about soap opera. If you like soap opera, Sony's not great. Sony assumes you want that cinematic motion, 24p. So they do their best to eliminate soap opera and preserve as much of the cinematic motion without stutter as possible. But if you don't like that and you want a bit of that soap opera, the LG or the Samsung may be slightly better. So it really depends on what it is you want from your TV. Because if you want a lot of soap opera, then they're all very similar, honestly, right? It's just, for me, Samsung is easier to get there, but Sony's fine too. You know, a lot of people complain, well, there are artifacts, but then you have to make other adjustments. Sony has for those who like motion settings, they have the most motion settings of any TV. So you can tweak it to near perfection if you don't like soap opera. If you like soap opera, LG and Samsung makes it easier to get there without artifacts. How about that? But so Simon, if you don't like soap opera at all and you want that movie motion, yes, I think Sony's the easiest to get there. But Samsung and LG are close. That unless you are a connoisseur of motion, you may not even be able to tell the difference to just get the least expensive TV of the group. Does Sony need MLA? Not if they continue to use QD-OLED, but the A80L, not as bright as the G3. So if Sony wants to sell the brightest TV or the brightest OLED money can buy, then they would need MLA. But if they're just focused on just accuracy, QD-OLED is fine for that. I don't think they need MLA. Fale asks, why aren't there any OLED 8K? Yes, there are. LG. That's it. Because I guess no other brand wants to make an 8K OLED, or maybe LG Display is only selling it to LG Electronics. Where's Sony and Samsung version of them? So Samsung Display is not making 8K QD OLED anytime soon because the market simply isn't there. It's not a large enough market to justify the expense of getting 8K right. And then after all that money, all that investment sunk into developing it, who's buying it? The market isn't large enough for 8K OLED. Now LG, because OLED is their thing, but look how expensive it is on the LG. It's super expensive. And I don't think Sony and Samsung want to go there. That's why. But they have 8K regular TVs because it's easier for them to source that from China. Or when I say regular, I meant LCD TVs. So James, I'm worried about LED going away. So you're talking LCD TVs with mini LED, right? Going away just as it's getting bright enough to do something really interesting. Do some really interesting things, like finally getting better motion clarity. So here's the good news. They are not going anywhere. TCL and Hisense have decided this is their path. Rather than chase OLED, which is what LG and Samsung and Sony are doing, right? They're doing this OLED thing. This is their flagship. Hisense and TCL are doubling down on mini LED as their pathway to success because of two reasons. One, affordability. They want to be able to deliver this at an affordable price. $1,500 is their target price for a very good 75, 85-inch TV. So larger, brighter, mini LED, good enough at a price point. If they chase OLED, they end up being as expensive as a Sony. As you saw, when Hisense tried OLED, it wasn't any cheaper than an LG B1, B2. So what's the point? People just get the LG B1, B2 because when Hisense did OLED, that's exactly how much it cost, maybe even a little bit more than the B1. So Hisense is like, well, why are we doing this? LG, people will buy the LG OLED. They won't buy a Hisense OLED, but they will buy the cheaper U7K, the brighter U8K, or the 100-inch U8K at $3,000. Now, Hisense and TCL have a path to compete with OLED. Go larger, go brighter. Just as you said, James, they could do interesting things with better image processing and a bit brighter. And we already know next year, 110-inch UX is coming to the US. That is a game changer because how much is it going to cost? $5,000? Suddenly it's competing with an 83-inch OLED, but now it's 110 inches, right? And we know it's going to be bright because the 83 and the 97-inch OLEDs, they don't have MLA. Well, not that I know of, but I could be wrong. If they have it, then they can keep up. We'll see. Which non-MLA 83-inch would I buy? A80L, the G3? Definitely the A80L, without a doubt. Because the G3 is just like the G2, just like the C2, C3, 83-inch is all the same. To me, the Sony, on the other hand, has the XR Clear. That's a game changer at a large size because the larger the TV, the brighter the TV, the better the contrast, the more you will notice artifacts, whether it's motion artifacts, whether it's just image artifacts, just everything. Macro blocking looks worse. The XR Clear makes an 83-inch TV look a bit better because you're sitting 8 feet away, 9 feet away from an 83-inch TV. You will notice all those issues. And XR Clear, I think that's where it makes the difference. So I would get the 83-inch A80L.
I'm just trying to keep busy and make videos and not work myself.
Just going through, keeping up with your questions. You guys got so many great comments. Okay, Fale, is micro LED competitive to OLED? Response time and black levels. So, yes, but the question is, what is your SoC? Oh, wait. Look who we got here. Techno Dad.
What's up, everybody?
How's filming going? Is the TV up yet?
TV is out of that giant crate. That was the, and I was trying to help Brandon walk with it over here. Man, I thought that thing was gonna slice my fingers open.
It's good.
The plastic parts, that because it was just so heavy, you know. Yeah, I'm gonna go outside and see what's going on. I just wanted to say hi to everybody. What's going on, everybody?
Hopefully they can hear you through my AirPod microphone.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
If not, this is a very awkward thing for them.
Like, Bob. So, Father, first of all, micro LED, they don't have a great SoC right now. From what I've heard, a lot of the micro LED installations, they're just using a MAD VR as the image processor, because image processing on an OLED, QD OLED, or on a Neo QLED, right, Mini LED, LCD, all worked out, very mature. Samsung's figured it out. Image processing on a micro LED, not so much. So if you're going to spend that much on a micro LED, more likely than not, you're going to have a MAD VR attached to it. So that is going to add latency. Do not get a micro LED for gaming, please, unless the TV was designed for gaming, which is nowhere close to that right now, right? Just, we're not even close. So I know you're dreaming the unicorn gaming TV, micro LED, not even close. Black levels is the same. You're perfect blacks. That's an OLED, right? It doesn't get any more black than that. The key is latency. You're not going to get that kind of latency right now in micro LED, because they're still figuring out how to process it. And once that processing efficiency, the algorithm, all that becomes more efficient, right, then it'll probably get to the same as OLED. But we're so far away from that. Not even worth talking about this stage. Great question, Salman. The FOMO is strong in you. I have an 83-inch A90J, which 2 years ago was a great TV, right? When do you think I will be able to upgrade to something significantly better? When QD OLED is at 83 inches. I suspect that will be 2025. On the at the latest 2026, I suspect by 2025, we'll have an 83-inch QD OLED or an 83-inch OLED with MLA, either one. And that is when you'll see that jump in just impact, HDR impact, APL brightness, right? The whole screen is going to be a bit brighter. So MLA will be the brightest at the 83-inch size, I think, but it may suck up a lot of energy, possibly as well, because it's a much larger TV. But we'll see. But I do think 2025 on the early side, 2026 on the late side. So hold on to it. It'll last that long. All right, Liberty Hour. Do you think Samsung Display will have a Gen 3 QD OLED panel for 2024? Or were they planning to have Gen 2 last 2 years? So Samsung Display reached out to me, and we are going to get a sneak peek at CES of what they're doing in 2024. They have a surprise for us. Well, marketing speak, who knows what the surprise is, right? It could be anything. But Shirag, the rep at Samsung Display, is very excited to show off their 2024 panels. And I'll be there. So will you. Our coverage of CES 2024 will include Samsung Display, specifically behind the scenes, to see what's new in 2024. So bookmark this. We're going to start our CS coverage this Saturday. I know it's early, but we're going to start talking, getting you guys excited, because it's the first weekend of 2023. I'll be there on the 7th January. I'll be moving in to Las Vegas for a few days. And yes, we're going to have a lot of fun. First week of January. I think January 7th, I'll be there. Coverage starts on the 8th, and we'll see what happens. Does Sony need MLA? No, but it's nice to have. Blue, you are so greedy. Any chance we'll see 97-inch QD OLED? We don't even have 83-inch QD OLED, so no. We're going to get the 83-inch before we get the 97-inch, and I don't expect to see the 83-inch next year. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. Word is, and there is no word that there's an 83-inch in the near horizon. So, yeah, unfortunately. I'm on the sideline, cash in hand, waiting. So this is not investment advice. It's for entertainment purposes only. Stick in the S&P 500 and just wait. and then maybe it'll keep up with inflation and the TV price, whatever it is, in 2 or 3 years, that cash and the S&P grows with it. Now you can buy it. Here we go. Thank you for that super chat. Danger, Will Robinson. I love these names. FOMO, love your work. I've 2016, I assume. You're not from the future. 2016, 65-inch Samsung 8000 series. Best upgrade path. Okay. 77-inch S90C or 85-inch X90L? I would say the 85-inch X90L for sure. Because the size impact, well, first of all, the Sony X90L is a good TV. And the size impact, and you'll have better contrast, deeper blacks, just the whole HDR experience, and you have XR clear. Then from there, you can wait out 83-inch QD OLED. And once Sony gets it, in a few years, you'll have money saved up 4 years from now, 5 years from now, to upgrade to the 83-inch. And even then, it's a side grade, right? It's the same size, but now you have the upgraded image quality. So I'd go with the 85-inch Sony X90L. If you can fit that, I think the larger size has a huge impact for you. Because now, not to say the S90C isn't great. It's an amazing TV, my editor's choice. But you're coming from a 2016 TV, the 85-inch is going to be such a good upgrade because I'm taking size into consideration as well.
That was a lot of fun. I did test it.
Okay, what is my opinion on a laser TV at 100 or 120 rather than getting the best OLED? Carlos, what is your lighting situation? Is it as bright as this room? If it is lots of windows, brightness everywhere, right? No light control, don't get the laser TV because you're going to be fighting the light and you're going to wait at night. And that's when you dim the lights, right? Okay, at 120 inches, UST light dim, amazing. That's great. But during the day, is this a man cave? If it is, I'd go with the UST 120. But OLED will give you that better impact at 83 inches, and depending on your budget, because 83 inches is like $5,000 for the C3 or the 83-inch A80L, right? I'd go with the 83-inch if you have more light. Otherwise, yeah, let me know. How bad is the NFL for gaming? It's not bad at all. Now, what is it you're gaming? But for a console gaming, it's fine. Even PC gaming, I think it's fine. But what kind of a gamer are you, right? If you are a hardcore gamer, first-person shooter, 895L isn't bad for sure. I mean, is it the best? Arguably, many will say the G3 might be better or the C3 or whatnot. But it just depends on what it is you're doing. If you're just Game Boy, Wii type of gamer, yeah, it's fine. What's the update on TrueCut? That's what I want to know. So apparently TrueCut, I believe, was working with Netflix, but nothing's happened yet. So now TrueCut is still working in a sense. It's being used in Hollywood. It was used in Avatar, Way of the Water, right? James Cameron chose it specifically to fix a lot of the motion issues in 3D, why he had to find a way to reduce the soap opera, and it wasn't fully reduced, but TrueCut is out there. But to put it on a TV, so TCL was its first brand partner. I haven't seen anything yet though, so maybe 2024. Hey, thanks, Ryan. Dropping in to smash the like button. Thank you. We're at 200. Yes. Smash that like button, my friends. At some point, I will turn on my camera over there so you guys can see the installation happening, but not yet. I think they're digging holes in the TV first, or digging holes in the wall first. Okay, Trinidad, what would you recommend for a 65 or 75-inch TV? Would be used in a living room with average light for movies, anime, and a PS5. Depends on your budget. So if budget, no object, 77-inch QD OLED S90C. Or higher budget, 77-inch Sony A95L. So these are your expensive options, right? The 77-inch S90C, $2,000. 77-inch S89C, $2,000, both QD OLED. You go to the A95L, now you're at close to $5,000. So that's in the 77-inch size. If your budget is under 2000, look at the Sony X90L, one of my favorite LCD TVs of the year. So yeah, tell me what your budget is and we'll help you out. Oh, David. Hey, David, I thought of you. I heard your question on the hi-fi, the AV hi-fi on Monday with Chana and Joe and Tel, and you asked about, hey, you just added, you upgraded your subwoofers, and you have two, and why doesn't it sound lower? So this is why, and I didn't know if you addressed this, but you have to stack the subwoofers. That's the only way you're going to double the SPL. If you have the subwoofers placed optimally, then you're just flattening your room, but the same SPL. If you want to increase your SPL, you have to stack them and put them near field. Then you have both flat and near double SPLs. But if you do not stack them and you put them apart, they won't sound any louder than when they were with one subwoofer. That's one of the tricks of getting multiple subs. So if you have four and you put them on four walls, it doesn't get louder. It gets flatter for everyone. But if you don't care about other people, stack four subwoofers, put it behind you, you will get 4 times the SPL. I mean, now you can have reference level. If it requires that, well, more than reference, now you're going to be able to fully pressurize your room, but it has to be stacked to get that doubling up of SPLs, right? So I thought of you when you said, oh, but I missed the stream, so I couldn't jump in.
No, but I think what is going to happen is if you didn't have a speaker there,
Immerso, right? So Buddy Love asked, you guys caught my video, my last FOMO show. Do you think we'll see samples of the new video format, I am, to combat Dolby Vision next year? So isn't that HDR10 Plus? That's supposed to be, I don't know. Do you think some of the new video format I am? So first of all, I don't know about that new video format. I just know of the new audio format to combat Dolby Atmos. So give me a link to I am and I'll do a video on it. Now, I doubt though that it will combat Dolby Vision, because if HDR10 Plus cannot succeed with the backing of Samsung and Amazon Prime, I don't know if anyone else can. I mean, what's the value proposition? HDR10 Plus is free. Like, it's open license. If open license can't do it, how would another open license do it, right? So what is the value proposition of I am that is better than HDR10 Plus relative to Dolby Vision?
that thicker gap there will look smaller because the TV's bigger, so it looks smaller. The 77 was higher.
All right, FedExer. Hey FOMO, in the 77-inch, which TV is, in your opinion, spending more money? Sony Z9K, 4,500 euros. Sony A95L, 4,700. Samsung S90C, 2,150 here in Germany. The Samsung S90C is such, I mean, based on these values. So Z9K is super bright. So forget that it's 8K. You're getting the Z9K because you want that bright impact, but the contrast is going to suffer. If you're in a super bright room, then Z9K actually makes a nice difference, right? But what content are you watching? I don't know that you'd be blasting out of accuracy content. I mean, it's so content specific to make the Z9K shine, right? I mean, it's bright, I'll give it that, but the contrast and the blooming control and the tone mapping, under 1,000 nits, it's great, but it looks no better than an OLED in my opinion. So you're paying 4,500 for what? Now at 85 inches, no OLED comes close to the brightness. So if you need 85 inches, you need that brightness, the Z9K stands unique, $4,500, not bad. But then the A95L 77-inch is a way better image quality, tone mapping, everything XR clear, and 77-inch, slightly smaller. How far are you sitting? If the room is slightly dim, I'd go with the A95L for pure image quality, but bang for the buck. The S90C is so close to the A95L. You know, what TV are you coming from? 77-inch S90C is my choice to start. Start with the 77-inch S90C. You're saving so much money. And if it looks good compared to the TV you're coming from, that's it. If you feel like, oh, you know, color's slightly off, you want to tweak the motion a bit more, then you go to the Sony A95L. I'd skip the 75-inch Z9K. I think it is for a use case that's not altogether universal. It'll either be the A95L or the S90C.
A little left to right on those knobs, but our goal would be center them exactly where you want, and then get the height exactly where you want, and then we have a little bit.
What is the best Dolby Vision TV? Probably LG, probably the G3, G3 or C3, right? Depending on your budget. LG, I feel like LG works well with Dolby Vision because Dolby Vision Hollywood, they use LG as their client monitors. So it's very important for LG to continue that relationship. So they work closely with Dolby Vision to make sure their TVs are good for Dolby Vision. On the Sony, you really need to get it calibrated. I mean, okay, I know Classy, you're here. All TVs should be calibrated because you don't know how they're out of the box, but the Sony is really messed up. It's Dolby Vision out of the box. It really needs a firmware update. LG, not as messed up. And now, personally, like Hisense, Dolby Vision, it's a shot in the dark. This year, well, last year definitely wasn't great. This year was still slightly lifted. But if you really care about Dolby Vision, you might have to look at the G3 with MLA. Has any, Don, what a good question. Has anybody determined what the largest direct view TV size can be to still fit through a standard doorway? How high is a standard doorway? So if you give me the height, then we can calculate that with they have it on all these projector sites, right? You have the 16:9, and then you just do the maximum height, and you see what the maximum width is for the 16:9 size. I don't know. Maybe I'm going to guess probably more than 110 inches.
So when you say 3141 is 72.
Filet, I can't afford micro LED. I will need to sell 2 kidneys and a liver. Here's the good news. I checked it. The market for kidneys, I believe, 125,000, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. You guys can look it up. How much is a kidney today? It's over 125,000. So yes, 1 kidney, you still have 1 left. Sell your kidney, get the micro LED, and enough to get a Mad VR. So an 88-inch micro LED with a Mad VR, and you still have a kidney left. So those of you who are checking, let me know what is the market exchange for a kidney right now. I think it's over 100,000, right? When can we expect MiniLED with 5K dimming zones to come close to OLED? We're there now. It depends on your source, your content. What are you watching? So if you're, critical movie watching, difficult, challenging tone mapping, we're a ways off, if ever. I don't think we're going to ever be there because the contrast will never, ever be infinite. But there is so much content that I'd say 75% of content, good enough. It's like within 2% of OLED. And that's all you need, right? 75% of content. So YouTube, Netflix, SDR movies. I mean, just basic content that most people watch, just documentaries, news, sports. I think we're there. It's that last 25% that you guys are paying extra for, or black bars, right? So this is full screen. In full screen, I think we're so close. Black bars, perfect blacks, you're going to have crushed highlights, and we'll never solve perfect black bars without crushed highlights, right? If you want bright highlights, you're going to have brighter black bars. If you want perfect black bars, you'll have crushed highlights. It'll be a while until we ever solve that, if ever. So that's where they separate themselves. But in full screen content, we're pretty close. And that's why most people I'll just get a larger TV and get mini LED with 5,000 dimming zones, which is coming next year. So, this is why OLED has problems. Their performance separation is narrowing. See, this is what I'm talking about. Curmudgeon, you have made my point. I was comparing an X93L to an A80L at Best Buy, and to my eyes, the X93L was better. What am I missing? Specular highlights. So you have to put in content. Starfield, right? Like space, Star Wars, where you have black, bright little highlight stars, space movies and the like. On OLED, those stars are really bright. X93L, slightly dimmer. And if you add black bars, then you will see the black bars being lifted compared to the OLED. And that's it. That's where they separate themselves. And of course, at Best Buy, they don't have black bar content. So tell them, hey, can you guys put on black bar content so I can compare? that's when it'll come up. But it won't be all black bar movies, right? It'll be specific ones, mostly bright highlights, stars, space explosions. That's when the black bars just light up. And good, there are a couple of good ones that does that. So the Greatest Showman is one that I use with have bright highlights on the edges, or Pitch Black is another one. So yeah, definitely content specific. Hello, I'm back. Hey, back.
Everybody, he knows that he's like doing it now, but he's just like, someone said like, oh, I'm so pumped.
I just got out of Brian's movies theater. Mozart. Does Brian know you're at his house while he's in Sonoma? You're at his movie theater. It's like making a mess of Brian's house. Are you like, is it house sitting for Brian? Why, hello, Kalum Donaccio. I used to live near Glendale. I used to live in Glendale. I grew up in Glendale. I went to school here. So this is like my old hunting grounds. I have a tear in my eye coming here. I'm trying to recall, like, he had problems. There was this controversy with Evergreen as well. So just so you know, G-Man, Brian isn't here. He's in Sonoma, about 4 hours north of here, tasting wine while I'm here doing the live stream and waiting for them to set the TV up. Hey, Eric, is the TV on the wall yet?
Not yet.
You're still marking it and everything? So they're still measuring the walls and everything because, was it measure twice, drill once, right? That is the rule. Got your day off, Ryan. Excellent, excellent. Hey, Lisa, welcome back. How was Brian's premiere? Okay, Matthew, thank you for that super chat. Thanks for the tips at getting better prices from Samsung.com, right? Took a few tries, but finally got the price down. And this is what I'm telling you guys. You guys got to be patient. Try the chat reps over and over. Different chat reps, different regions. I mean, they're all over the place. But I'm glad you were patient and persistent. Took a few tries, but finally got the price down from $1,600, 65 S90C to $1,280. That is a great price. $1,280 for the 65-inch S90C. Whew, you bought the QM8 but returned it. I still stopped the FOMO. Yes, going from a QM8 to the S90C. Good choice. Good choice. And for that price, excellent. Good job. Thank you for sharing, Matthew. And let this be a lesson to everyone. Just because the chat rep says no to that deal, oh, there's no such deal. What you see is what you get. Try again. He's probably hit his quota of deals for the day. Try, or he may not even know. Lisa, you are always forgiven. Do not apologize. You guys watch it again, right? You did not miss anything. Oh, you totally missed stuff. Come on. The minute she left, we were talking about Lisa. All right. Column. Hey, FOMO. I just got Brian's opinion. Now I need to pick one. 100-inch U8K, 98-inch X90L, or 83-inch G3. Okay, what TV you're coming from? If you're coming from an OLED, you got to go with the 83-inch G3 because it's OLED. Now the question is, why the G3? Other than the 5-year panel warranty, right? So if that's important, then G3 is approved. But just know that the audio will require a bit of an upgrade, so maybe a sound bar. If you don't have any other reason choosing the G3 other than, the cosmetics great and it's 5-year, but you're just looking at image quality, the C3 will get you mostly there, or why not the A80L, right? But let's put that aside. Let's say for whatever reason, 83-inch G3, that's the 83-inch you want. The 98-inch X90L. If you're coming from an LCD TV, an older one, I think the 98-inch X90L will knock your socks off, but is it worth the extra $3,000, $4,000, $4,000, $5,000, right? $4,000 to $5,000 premium over the U8K? That is the question. Now, for the same price, I take the 98-inch X90L, but it's almost twice as well. It's more than twice as much as the 100-inch U8K. So if you have the flexibility and you're okay with trying the 100-inch U8K, try it out. You know what? The image quality is not impressive. Then you got to box it up and put it back. So if you're willing to do that, start with the 100-inch and hope for the best. If you're not, and you just play it safe, like I just want a TV once, buy once, and never return, then you cannot go wrong with the 83-inch G3. The 90-inch X90L, if you're coming from an OLED, I wouldn't go with 90-inch X90L because you're used to this infinite contrast. But it's so expensive though. The 83-inch G3 is less expensive than the X90L. I'd go with the 83-inch G3. That's what I'd say. If you're coming from really good TV. If you're coming from a old LCD TV, I'd start with the 100-inch U8K and go from there. So it depends on what TV you're coming from for sure.
You don't want to see the whole. I don't want to see the whole. So you want to have it counter, over, not countersink.
All right. Did I check the 5% gray uniformity either or both? Yes. So I use the Spears and Munsell. I don't use the slide. It was fine. I mean, the vertical banding, all TVs have a little bit to some degree, but it was definitely better than my G3. There's no doubt about it. But any vertical banding that was there was barely noticeable. And I know for sure it's not even noticeable in content. Actually, it's pretty clean. It wasn't until I put my camera on it. The camera is very sensitive to subtle differences. I could see it on my camera, but eyeballing it, it wasn't noticeable. So my 5% gray uniformity was fine on both of my A95Ls. But it's always panel lottery. So keep this in mind. Reviewers get panel lottery like all of us do. So if they have a batch or they have one or two that has vertical banding, yeah, they could complain about it, return it, and get another one. But the question is, how bad is it compared to a G3? I found the G3 vertical banding to be more noticeable. Like my G2 was noticeable. My G3 is still noticeable. And that's what it is with OLED. But the vertical banding is not as bad as LCD's own version of DSC. Splotchiness, just dirty parts of the screen, getting worse over time. There is no perfect TV. You just have to ask yourself, what can you live with real content? If you put in real content and you see it, okay. If you don't see it, don't beat yourself up.
Okay. It's about an inch. Yeah. So it's got to be an inch fast. Yeah. The other thing is.
And Classy wants you guys to know the S90C and A95L are the best current gaming TVs. See?
And then you could just move it back here and you could just have someone come in and touch the paint up later.
Sam is ready for CES. CES. I am too.
But on mud today, it'll just keep it still and it's got to dry overnight. Yeah.
Oh, they're sold out. So I'm going to take a minute. This is worth it. Can we talk about the Oppenheimer 4K Blu-ray sellout? Long live physical media. Yes. And it's you guys, right? Nothing to do with anything other than the consumers have spoken. I am very proud of consumers for buying this up because they made it happen and you guys bought it. If it wasn't for you guys, it wouldn't sell out. So yeah, this is pretty cool. And who knew that there were that many disc players out there, right? Oppenheimer 4K Blu-ray sellout. Now I know what people are getting for Christmas. Excellent.
Oh, it has to go over to the AVR.
Yeah, it has to go over there. So that's where's the other one?
Above you, yeah.
Would you recommend a TV calibration on the Sony A95L, even though it's great out of the box? If you value Dolby Vision, if you care about Dolby Vision, yes, it needs to be calibrated. The Dolby Vision, it's too bright, too lifted. It's not good out of the box right now. So that's the reason why I would get it calibrated. It's for Dolby Vision. Otherwise, I think it's fine. But how tolerant are you of the minor inaccuracies, right? You saw my Dolby Vision comparison. Now, how bad is it to you?
Yeah, but I mean, some people hook up Zone 2 to everywhere else, and then they can turn on individual sets. So like an iPad.
You notice, Lisa, what's up with your new eyeglass frames? So I have multiple eyeglasses. These are the ones I wear when I'm traveling about or whatever, just in case I lose it, right? So I have a pair at home. I actually have 3 pairs. I left one at M-Wave. It's still at M-Wave, right? It's at Ryan's house. So when I'm back in Kansas City, I'll pick it up. So I got that one. I got the one in my studio, and I got these, my travel pair. So in case I lose one, I got to order more. But it happens, right? I'm getting old. I'm forgetting. Where are my glasses? Came home, can't see.
And it's further that way, and the speaker here can even move further in.
Well, he doesn't. Yeah, but he doesn't.
I don't think he has space over there, right? Because of the wall.
Yeah, I don't know. You might have to do it. Yeah, I think the main thing is I got to.
Okay, Celio, good evening. Good evening to you. Which TV would be better in 98-inch? The Samsung Q80C, Sony X90L, or the TCL QM8? So in doubt. Sony being what they are, it depends. I think the Sony and the Samsung will be very similar, but the Sony X90L has XR Clear. And at a TV that size, I will give XR Clear the benefit of the doubt of cleaning up the content. So what did I choose? I chose the Sony X90L 98-inch. It's sitting somewhere there. It's not installed yet. We're waiting for my friend's room to finish its renovation. Well, we're going to do a video on that so you guys can see what it looks like, and I'll do a review. So I completely specced out the renovation and I chose the X90L. Thank you, Robert Zone of Valley Electronics. Yeah, I spoke to him at length and we decided the X90L would be the TV to go instead of all the other options, because I felt that, so first of all, he's coming from an old TV, right? So no matter what, this is an upgrade for him. But I felt the XR Clear would be important because he's a sports guy. We watch sports at his place a lot, college football, USC Trojans, right? So we wanted a TV where sports would look good. And I think the Sony X90L would definitely do it justice because he streams all his content, whether it's cable or YouTube TV. XR Clear is going to clean that up. So, and at that size, that's important. And, he's not a critical movie watcher, so I don't think the QM8's perfect HDR is very important to him. For him, he just wants something that works and works for a long time. And the X90L has less moving parts. There's no mini LED. It's got just enough dimming zones. It's got the XR Clear. Yes, we are paying a premium, but, for him, it's within his budget. So I made the call, but that's what I chose, but it is expensive. The QADC is a few $1,000s less, especially if you get at Samsung.com, the whole AAA thing. But it's still about the same price as the QM, or so a little bit more than the QM8. QM8 will give you the maximum HDR impact. And if you're okay with TCL, start with the QM8 and see if you enjoy that HDR impact. But the colors will be slightly off. If you're into skin tones, I think the Q80C might be the compromise. Its warmth settings are more accurate than TCL's. TCL, the QM8, it's either too warm or too magenta or too cool. There's no in between. The Q80C, you can get closer in between, and the X90L definitely has the best skin tones. So I'm sensitive to skin tones. So based on also leased, I cannot imagine the warranty, or maybe that's why it's expensive. They have to cover the warranty in this thing. Yes, Lisa, these are the same frames I wore at the shootout. These are my travel frames. It's a little bit lighter too. So when I do kind of like long form, like today's video, the 83-inch C3 is brighter than the Sony A80L. Is it worth additional $500 for the Sony A80L? Okay, when people say brighter, unless you have it side by side on specific content, the brightness difference, 20 nits, you are not going to notice. 30 nits, even 50 nits, unless they're side by side, it's not a big deal. The XR Clear, that is noticeable, meaning cleaning up the macro blocking, cleaning up the motion issues that come with low bit rate. I mean, do you notice that? That only you could answer. Is it worth the extra $500? Why don't you save the $500? Get the 83-inch C3, and if it's great to you, you saved $500. Because if you're coming from a Sony, you got to stick with a Sony because the skin tones and you're used to the motion and all that. You're staying within that same expectation. If you're coming from any other TV, get the C3 83-inch, and I think you'd be thrilled because $500 is a lot of money. So I'd say go with the money, save some money, get the C3, and if you're not happy with the skin tones out of the box and you don't want to pay $500 for a calibrator, then upgrade to the XR Clear and get the Sony A80L. I figured that's what you meant, buddy. Yeah, so we're talking about the audio Samsung's. I'm calling it the Immerso because it doesn't have a name yet, but it's the competitor to Dolby Atmos. So Dolby Atmos, Dolby's surround spatial audio for movies and music and all that. And Samsung has collaborated with Google to release an open source version that competes with it. I am always for open source to be competitive. The question is, who's going to support it? Like what content we're going to see. Unless content supports it, it's going to die on the vine, right? So let's hope Apple TV supports it because it's free. And then if it's on Apple TV, then maybe other people will follow suit. 98-inch Sony or 120-inch JVC projector and light-controlled home theater. Well, if you're going to go with a JVC projector, why don't you go a little bit larger? Even like 140-inch, right? 150-inch, but 120-inch is really large. So if it's light controlled, the 120-inch impact, I am going to go with a 120-inch because I know how impactful size is. Yes, I'm giving up HDR. The 98-inch Sony X90L will have the HDR impact, but 120-inch, that extra 20-inch is just huge at that size. Like if I'm sitting 13 feet away, I would want the 120-inch. I'm sitting 12 feet away, I would want the 120-inch. So I would go with the 120-inch, but the budget would be significantly more. I mean, you're comparing a $7,000, $8,000 TV to what would be a $1,000 to $2,000 screen, with the projector being $9,000. We're talking twice as much as the Sony. So I would hope it's going to look awesome. This is a good point, AJ. Why does the Amazon Prime third-party movies like John Wick 4 say UHD HDR, but it's playing in 1080p? It's because depending on the bandwidth and the number of people watching it, Netflix does the same thing. They may drop down to 1080p. So whether it's your bandwidth or whether there's way too many people watching it at the same time, they have to be able to distribute it. And in order to make sure everyone gets to watch it, they have to drop the compression or drop the quality so that they can distribute it to everyone watching. And it could be region specific, it could be country specific, it could be neighborhood specific. We don't know exactly, but they have many, many different formats so that they can save on compression. Or if your internet is bad that day, you're dropping your TV or your system. Netflix sees, oh, his internet's slow, boom, it's 1080p or worse. Hey, Liberty, here's a good point, and I'll tell you what's going to happen next. FOMO and Classy. If you see Rob Brennan of Sony, ask him, why on earth don't they get proper peel on the screen to protect it from scuffs and scratches and wear and handling? A95K, now A95L are getting damage returns. Guess what, Liberty? Enough returns, they will do it, right? You just have to return it and walk with your wallets. Okay, here, I'm going to jump to some of these super chats before you guys, it's taking too long. Somebody is asking, follow up, thank you for the super chat. My bad. I meant to say audio, not video. Plus, what's up with Oro 3D? Did someone save the company? So Oro 3D, I think someone did buy it, but it's out there in limbo. I don't think it's going to have any further development. I mean, the format, it is what it is right now. And the question is whether a new content will support Oro 3D. Existing content is there. The devices that have the format support is there. That's not going away. Moving forward, what's happening? That we don't know. Now, did someone save the companies? I believe someone did acquire the licenses to it. I forgot who is it, DTS or someone? It could be, I think it could be DTS, but at this point, it's a non-issue unless they market it properly. Even when Oro 3D was independent, it wasn't effectively licensed and marketed. So it depends. Now, talking about this new open source format that's competing with Dolby Atmos, it depends on Dolby. How much are they charging for Atmos? If they're not charging too much, then people won't bother. The cost benefit analysis, we'll just pay the 2 cents, right? Excuse me. But if Atmos costs a bit more, like Netflix, it's streaming at Atmos to millions of households. Would Netflix save money if they use Samsung, Google's free format and the sound quality is the same? Yes, they would move over because all those licenses to millions of households every day. But I don't know what the business model is, so it's hard to say. But yeah, if it's that much, oh, absolutely, they're going to move over. And Dolby is not cheap. I think they would charge a bundle. All right, Devontae Swing. Would you recommend the Q95C over the Z9K? Looking for a larger TV over 80 inches that is bright and good for sports. Thanks. The Z9, good for sports.
I understand, but that's your own problem.
The Z9K is a good TV.
You've been doing like this for her forever.
I'd go with the Z9K. The Q95C is also good, but so at the shootout, we had both the Q95C and the Z9K. I cannot unsee some of the processing issues in the Q95C. The Q95C has better tone mapping at brightness above 1,000 nits, but if you're watching sports, that's not an issue. I'd go to Z9K. Yep, Z9K. Okay, thank you, Chris, for the super chat. A75L, X90L, C3. Wife likes lights on while watching YouTube. Hulu, Disney Prime, Netflix. Also, is no Dolby Vision on Samsung a big deal? We'll start with that. No, not a big deal. If anything, Dolby Vision makes it harder for TVs to look good, like the Sony A95L. Not accurate, right? So don't worry about Dolby Vision. Now, the question is, though, the C3 or the X90L? And I'm assuming you're looking... So the C3 is an OLED, and the 75L is an OLED, but the X90L is not. So I'm assuming you're going to get a larger X90L, like an 85-inch? Huh. I'd go with the A75L. That's a 65-inch if that's the size you want. A75L will be a great TV. I would choose that over the C3. But if you're looking at the X90L, $2,000, 85-inch, I would go with the X90L because the 85-inch, I mean, it's impactful and she likes to watch with the lights on. X90L looks great with lights on. So 75-inch, 85-inch, getting a larger TV than the 65-inch A75L. I think it's limited to 55 and 65 inches. So go with the 85-inch X90L if that's your option. She'll love the size, by the way. Travis Sylvania, thank you for the super chat, my friend. Will LCD question, which dimming technology has raised blacks but no blooming? Blacks but no. Is it full array local dimming, direct lit LED? I was thinking about an 98-inch TV. I don't mind raised blacks, but it's like blooming. Then get the X90L. X90L did a great job this year of raising the blacks, preserving contrast, and reducing the blooming. The X90L does not have as many dimming zones, but it did such a great balance this year. I like it a lot. The U8K did the same. So U8K, not as deep as last year's TV. However, with its raised blacks, its blooming is not as obvious either. But I'd say Sony X90L. Sony X90L right now does the best job of that compromise if you're okay living with the slightly raised blacks, which the X90L, phenomenal job. Will we see a Samsung MiniLED with 5,000 dimming zones in 2024? Probably. I would think so. Samsung was the market leader, but Hisense and TCL are out-speccing them. So Samsung is no longer making their own panels anymore when it comes to LCD, which means they are limited to what they can buy from TCL or CSOT and BOE, and it's their choice. They could spec it 5,000 dimming zones, but they're thinking consumers may not notice the difference, right? So I think they'll do it because they're realizing that we're talking about it right now, and they're like, oh, okay, fine, consumers want it. Maybe at the 85-inch size, maybe at the larger sizes, 98-inch size, Samsung will do it, but Samsung's so expensive though. So I don't know if it'll be worth the money for them to do it if they can't tell the difference. But yeah, 5,000 dimming zones will be a thing for TCL and Hisense in 2024. And if Samsung doesn't do it, they will definitely lose the spec wars. But is image quality going to be better on a 5,000 dimming zone TV? That remains to be seen. So like we did a comparison with the X95L, right? The 85-inch X95L and the Hisense UX. Hisense UX, way more dimming zones, but image quality, very similar. So you don't need 5,000 dimming zones to get excellent image quality. And I think that's what Samsung is looking at. And this is why Samsung is no longer touting their number of dimming zones anymore. All right. Trying to scroll down here, get your questions. Brandon says, I feel like CES is going to be a bust this year. Can't think of anything exciting that I'm expecting, but maybe I'll be surprised. Now, I don't think it's going to be a bust, and I'll tell you why. It's a bust if you're expecting more OLED innovation. But if you want bigger TVs, higher quality, like better image quality, an LCD TV from TCL or Hisense, you will be pleasantly surprised. If you're looking for LG to do something special with MLA, yeah, I think you'll be disappointed. I think MLA was their big thing, unless the C4 gets MLA. So if the C4 gets MLA, it won't be a bust. I think it will be the talk of the town. If QD-OLED goes to 83 inches, it won't be a bust. I think that'll be exciting. Just getting those size improvements will be huge. Hey, Glenn. I finally got to your hello. I'm running a few minutes behind, folks. Sorry about that. See, it's 3:51 and I'm still at 3:26. Trying to get to all your questions here.
Almost nearby as well.
My Black Friday S90C got delayed till the middle of January. I got to see if the chat rep can soften the blow. Yes, this is why I love the Samsung.com site. You talk, negotiate, right? Talk to the chat rep. Go, hey man, you promised me this. It's coming in January. Look at this. Look, can you make something happen? And keep on trying. Don't accept no on the first try and come back. Let me know, Sony Ice, whether you get a good deal for waiting. You just have to ask. That's my number one rule this year. Ask and you'll get a deal eventually. Correct, Lisa, that no 83-inch has MLA. Only 77-inch has MLA, which is the G3. 83, no MLA. 97, no MLA, unfortunately. Quack foo. I was running late, so yeah, we're still running. TVs hasn't even been brought in yet, so I'm just waiting for them to bring the TV. They're still measuring. They're outside unboxing the TV and measuring the walls. Remember, measure twice, drill once, and as soon as they come in, we can see it happen, and I'll add in my second camera. Deus wants to share quality on my 100-inch U8K is incredible. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, it's panel lottery. I know a lot of people are like, oh, my U8K doesn't work, blah blah blah, and it happens, right? Get it replaced. But when it does work, it's going to be better than your 8-year-old TV. The image quality will be amazing, and then you add the size and the HDR impact. Obviously, it's not going to be perfect, but no TV is. Know what you're getting. You're getting a 100-inch TV with better image quality than any LCD TV from 8 years ago. And I think that is a great upgrade for most of you.
When you just walked outside, I was watching.
You're welcome, Caleb.
Yeah, that's probably what it
Turn this one
was.
on?
Yeah, just turn that one off.
We should charge them. You can charge them.
So many canned lights. Wait.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm sure.
Look at all those canned lights, right? Canned lights are the thing.
Okay, yeah, we'll see this.
Some of these, like, old, like, I have a cheap generic.
And I must congratulate you, T-Bug. FOMO, my 77-inch A80L is almost perfect. No DSE, no vertical banding. I must have won the panel lottery. Someone's going to win, right? And remember, when you go online, the people that didn't win are the ones complaining. Well, what about the other 100,000 buyers, right? So out of, 10, 20,000 odd purchasers of this TV, you read about the 100 people that have bad DSE. Well, the people not complaining, they're okay. So yeah, more often than not, it's okay. But people do lose the panel lottery as well.
I don't know, I thought we just do a general thing. I haven't really gotten any sort of good.
Chris, thank you for the super chat. Oh, I already answered that. Hopefully, I'm still catching up. Let me check, see.
Oh, those?
Yeah.
Hey, Chana, let me know when the TV's about. Wait, is the TV still outside?
And then
Ah.
from power to outside the measuring, so that comes back in here and we measure more.
Yeah.
So should I just go, okay, let's stop and just do all the measurements?
Yeah, just give the measurements quickly.
Okay. All right. So
Is it me or has FOMO frozen? Did I freeze? This is back. This is back. This is back at 3:37. Did I freeze like 30 minutes ago? Let me go up. Let me fast forward to what you guys are right now. I think I'm way too behind. I took way too long answering questions. Yeah, here we go. Don't forget to click the like button.
So we're gonna
Thank you,
stop
my
for a
friend.
second, give you guys all the measurements because it's getting a bit tricky, but we're gonna
And
figure it out.
Lee Francis asks, FOMO, do you think Samsung will get MLA panels and combine it with QD PLED? You mean QD OLED? The answer is not anytime soon. MLA, the way I understand it, MLA is reversing the issues caused by WOLED having many layers. A color filter and a polarizer reduces a little bit of the brightness, right? Just more layers. MLA recaptures that brightness. QD OLED doesn't have those layers, thus the complaints not having a polarizer and not having a color filter. It has a color converting layer, but that color converting layer is the QD OLED. So essentially, it doesn't need MLA. It's like you're wearing contacts and you're putting on glasses again, right? So it doesn't need the MLA to offset any issues. It doesn't have those issues, but it doesn't mean that MLA couldn't be helpful in a different application. It's just Samsung has not created that application. So we'll see. There could be an MLA that helps, but it's not the same one being used by LG, is my understanding. So LG calls it micro lens array. Samsung displays taking it literally. No, the MLA doesn't help us at all. But maybe some kind of lens array could, maybe. So we'll talk to Shirag some more about that because I know it's being used on RGB OLED phones. The question is, why not on a QD OLED? But they've said no. I've asked. And I agree, Douglas. More likely, 95% of purchasers have no clue what DSE is. Ignorance is bliss. That's the most important rule of the day. If you go looking for problems, you will find problems. Doesn't matter what it is you buy, whether it's an AirPod, an iPhone, or an OLED TV. If you turn on the TV and it looks great, don't go looking for problems. Don't go buying test discs, putting it in, unless you actually see a problem. Then you buy the test disc to confirm the problem. I get it. But if you love your TV, just don't look for scars. Don't. You're going to hate yourself.
Okay, so we're going about 4 inches further.
Hey, Baba. The A80L is a great TV because of the processing, but the brightness numbers in the ratings test seem very noticeable, over 150 nits in some scenes. So this is the issue, and I don't know if Classy, you're still here. When Classy had them side by side, the A80L and the C3, that was not the case in real content. The A80L actually looked brighter in some scenes because test patterns are that. Do you want a TV that wins the test pattern wars? Get the C3. But in real content, our ratings doesn't do that. Ratings uses test patterns. In real content, the TV acts differently, both the Sony A80L and the C3. What is it you're watching? So let's say you're watching Netflix, anime, manga, whatever, right? Run that side by side on A80L and C3. See if there is a brightness difference. Now you know. Let's say you're watching movies like The Greatest Showman. Run them side by side. Then you know. Because you will see the numbers on test patterns that ratings does are not consistent with the actual content, plus and minus both ways, right? In some content, the C3 looks dimmer, and some it looks brighter. It is so scene specific, content specific, and God forbid Dolby Vision comparisons, which is ratings doesn't do at all for a reason, right? The consistency isn't there. Now, ratings can only do so much. Their policy is to not use copyright content. That doesn't help you guys. You guys only watch copyright content, right? So there you hear that drilling? There is a limit to what pattern testing can do, but you also have to run real content on it. And that's why we have side-by-side comparisons. There's no way to avoid it. You cannot buy a TV based only on measurements and patterns.
You don't have the tools, impact drill. He's like, no.
I did freeze for a minute or so back then. I'm going to blame the house-wide internet, right? I'm on a mesh. Who knows what happens on the mesh?
Let me see if I can bang around. Things been like shorting.
Which OLED has the best glare and reflection handling? I was very impressed by the A95K, the A95L, the LG G2, G3. So my conclusion is LG and Sony has some of the best glare and anti-reflection out there. Maybe. Hopefully that answers your question. I don't know about the C3, but when I was at M-Wave, the G2 was very impressive with its anti-glare last year. And the A95K, great. The QM8, not so good. So when you have good anti-glare next to no anti-glare in a bright room like at M-Wave, you notice the difference. But I think for the most part, they did a pretty good job with anti-glare. Any tips? Thank you, Matthew Cruz, for the super chat. Any tips for setting on the S90C when watching movies? I sometimes see funny stuff during action scenes and a lot of motion. Okay, so we're talking motion here. My motion setting for the S90C is setting anti-jitter at 3. I find the soap opera not noticeable at 3, and it removes the stutter pretty well. So 3 to 4, depending on the content. If at 3, the stutter is somewhat noticeable still, I go to 4, and 4 normally fixes it with, for me, tolerable soap opera. So put your anti-jitter to 3 or 4, and then the anti-blur. I honestly don't even know what it does. I haven't seen it make a big difference, but I normally have it at 8 or 9. Just leave it as is, rarely change it. But put your motion setting on either a 3 or 4, and let me know if that fixes your action scenes.
So loud.
Here's an easy one. Samsung 77-inch S90C or 65-inch G3. Definitely the 77-inch S90C. That's what I would choose. Now, if you want to watch Dolby Vision, well, you have no choice. You got to go with the G3. But I don't think Dolby Vision is a big deal. So I think the 77-inch S90C is a phenomenal TV. It's my editor's choice. You're getting a larger TV. You're getting QD OLED. You're getting very similar brightness. Yep, you will like it. And it's such an amazing price. Can you hear that? Can you hear the drilling? I have the noise suppression on my AirPods, but I don't know if it's effective. Let me know if you can hear all that drilling.
No, that's how it normally sounds.
Yeah.
And if you don't hear the drilling, then I'll continue talking. But I don't want to try to talk over that drilling.
Pushing so it doesn't like lose grip. I normally use-
I've read that the C3 might be better than G3 for reflection. So it really depends on your home. We're talking, direct sun reflection off a window, lights above. Get the TV and you have to try it in your home. You can't trust reviews because they're doing it differently than what you have at home. It's just not the same. I mean, it is the most subjective and use case specific. Get the TV that you were planning to get, put it in there and see how light reflection works. If you don't like it, swap it out and see if it gets better. To the chat, M3 versus G3. Well, 77-inch, you got to go with the G3, right? MLA. But if it's larger, 83-inch, 97-inch, neither of them have MLA. I would still go with the G3 because wireless, unless you need wireless, image quality should be very similar. It comes down to the convenience of wireless. That's all.
Yeah, this one's more like your hammers. Hard.
Doris Ma, you and your double entendre. You're gonna get me kicked off of YouTube sooner or later. The guy with the hat. When will we see me? When will we see an 83-inch QD OLED panel? My prediction: 2025. Let's see. This is what I'm talking about. The class says, "Hey, FOMA, I'll send you a couple of images on Twitter that show." That show the A80L brighter than the C3, even though window measurements can say the opposite. You can show the images on here. All right, Classy. I'll try to show that. Thanks, man. This is what we're talking about. Measurements don't always tell the tale of the tape.
Tell me, China. Tell me the answer. Doesn't like it. Oh.
All right, I see it. Let's do this right here. There we go. All right, let me try to fit this. So I got the image from Classy. Let's see if I can share it with you guys here.
We don't need to get all these. Oh man, you got 4 more to go.
All right.
Hey, we got plenty of juice in the battery, so as long as that's not the issue, we're good.
There you go. Okay. So
That's a hammer drill.
I assume the TV on the right is the A80L Classic because it looks slightly brighter. As you can see, at worst, they look very similar, right, in this scene. And this is demonstrating that regardless of the measurements, you know, this is what you're getting.
But this is a more powerful drill.
All right. Yes. Go keep your girlfriend happy. Okay. The noise is really loud. Okay. Then when the noise is on, I will not try to speak over the noise. I'll be like yelling. And thanks for letting me know. The drill base is decent. Yes, it goes down to a solid 60 hertz, right?
I mean, like, what do you call it? The traffic would be like it's 4 o'clock now. It would be like really bad on the computers that come here.
How come not one influencer in the USA did a Samsung Q80C 98-inch review? Maybe because influencers, most of them, don't want to buy the 98-inch. I bet you Brandon might get it though. He is one influencer that only does large TVs. If anyone's going to do it, it will be Brandon. He actually may already have one. I don't know, but I'll ask him later if he's planning to get the 98-inch Q80C. Okay, so just real quick, this image once again is comparing the C3 to the A80L. And as you can see from the measurements, let me just make it solo and see. Looks like the A80L, or maybe the A80L is on the left. The specular highlights on the A80L is slightly brighter. The TV on the left is slightly brighter. Whereas case very similar. Come on, Classy. Let us know which is which. Or did he already let me know and I didn't read his comment? A80L's on the left. Yep. So A80L's on the left. Here, let me add that to my ticker real quick.
But our neighbor kid, he knew exactly what it was. Yeah, you don't want to mess with those. What are you looking for?
And I just didn't know if I brought in the cable charge that it came for.
There you go.
Yeah, you just need
All right. Okay, so let's do this. On the left is the A80L, the C3 is on the right. If you look at the brightness measurements of the specular highlights and everything, the A80L has actually slightly brighter specular highlights. Even though the ratings measurement would predict the C3 would be brighter, that's not always the case. And so don't buy TVs just based on measurements. Real content is not always consistent with the measurements. That's what we've learned as reviewers is you got to use real content. And there you have it. Thanks again, Classy, for that.
Yeah, I would imagine it's going to take us to 5:39.
There you go.
Yeah, I can do all this relatively quickly with this. Like, these little stupid
Okay.
drill and stuff. So,
Oh, yeah. Let me check. So Classy sent a couple more. Let me see if there's anything. Oh, this is an interesting one. I like this one. Let's do this one right here.
Oh, by the way, Joseph. Brandon's a good dude.
Okay, and let's try this one. Here we are. All right, same thing. The A80L is on the left, C3 on the right. And let me go into full screen real quick so you guys can see this better. Doesn't make a difference, does it? So even though, 150 nits is a lot, by the way. So the ratings measurement shows C3 should have 150 nits of brightness difference. Not the case. Look at these two TVs. A80L's on the left, C3 is on the right. pretty much in this scene, they're indistinguishable. So don't buy just based purely on the measurements, because the measurements are on a pattern and you're not watching patterns all day.
Right? Oh, good. And then the end of the TV, which is roughly there.
LG needs to make QD OLED MLA. Needs to make QD OLED. MLA ain't cutting it. Yeah, well, I know. It's got limitations, but as many people have said, including myself, they've invested so much into WOLED that right now the margins are perfect. But if they were to invest in all new technology, all new tooling, it's not going to be good. Hey, Brad, it's been a while. Thank you for the super chat. Watching you in my 76-inch S90C. You dropped an inch. It's no longer 77. It's only 76 now. On discount from Rob. Apparently, it's discounted by 1 inch. Well, electronics, the no-brainer deal of the year. Yes, definitely. The discounts are great. And Rob of Electronics does price match. Thank you for that, Brad. I hope you're enjoying it. Hey, Michael. Hope you're having a good day, my friend. Who do you think does the best upscaling right now? Definitely Sony XR Clear. So Sony TVs with XR Clear, that's the bomb for streaming. In my opinion, right now, that's the gold standard. Well, Brad got the special edition, right? If you're willing to take more off the top, they'll sell it for you even less. Just kidding. I'm afraid some of you might take that seriously. Hey, Katie, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate all you do. Still have FOMO, but your content is great. Hey, thanks, Cody. I thought it said Kitty. Cody Moore. Thank you for that. I appreciate it greatly. When do we get to see TV? As long as they're still drilling, there's no TV. They have to be finished drilling the holes, right? Getting in the mount. Once the mount is on, then they have the TV mount on the TV, mount on the wall. Then one goes on the top of the other, and we're good to go. The first time I heard that drill, I nearly jumped out of my chair. Spatial audio at its best, right, Quack Fu? All right, here's a great question. Hi, FOMO. I'm wondering why Dolby Vision seems to be no big deal when the color gamut is so much greater than HDR10. Just curious why you feel this way. Thanks. So, this is a great question. Let me take this off real quick here. Okay. Wait, all you see is cam lighting. Let me bring this down. Okay. First of all, the content has to, the content, even though it's in Dolby Vision, did the creator use all that color gamut, first of all? So just because the Dolby Vision container is capable of super wide gamut, right? If the content creator limits it to Rec 709 space or limits it to DCI P3, what does it matter, right? It's kind of like your Ferrari is capable of 200 miles an hour, but all you do is drive around your neighborhood at 30 miles an hour. What does it matter that you have a V12, V8 capable of 200 miles an hour? You'll never see it. You're just running around the block. And in this case, Dolby Vision is no different. Dolby Vision is capable of so much more, but if the creator does not push that content color, brightness to those extremes, for example, 10,000 nit content, you can do that on Dolby Vision. No one grades it in 10,000 nit Dolby Vision other than Spears and Muscle. That's the only source content I know of that we can all buy and go, oh, look, this is 10,000 nit content, Dolby Vision. No other content is out there that does that. And so that question is for the creators. Why don't you make your movies 10,000 nits with wider color gamut that goes beyond, way beyond DCI P3, right, into BT 2020? So just because Dolby Vision is capable of it doesn't mean the source is using it. There is Dolby Vision black and white. You can make a movie in black and white, call it Dolby Vision, and guess what? It's black and white. There's no color at all. It's still Dolby Vision black and white. You can make a Dolby Vision movie that only goes up to 200 nits. So what's the point? And that's what I've been complaining about is just because HDR or Dolby Vision, doesn't matter the format, is capable of wow, but the source just does then you only get And so if you have an OLED TV that's just capable of meh, and your source is meh, it's a match. That's why the B3 is fine, right? The B3, not super bright, just bright enough. You're just watching old TV shows, CNN, some sports, whatever. It's good enough. If you're watching challenging content where you have specular highlights that goes above 1,000 nits, you have APL that's super bright, then you might need a G3 with MLA. You might need a QD OLED. So your source content determines whether this Dolby Vision is fully utilized, but you have no control over that. It's the creator. And until creators push Dolby Vision to what it's capable of, it's not a big deal. And that's why we use Spears and Munsell for that reason. Spears and Munsell, it actually says, oh, this scene goes up to 8,000 nits, 4,000 nits, 10,000 nits. That color goes into BT 2020. It actually says it in the scene. And I can see where in the scene it does that. And so we could compare TVs and say, oh, this TV, you see the red is a bit richer. This TV, the red is a bit washed out. And it's accurate and not oversaturated. Content creators are not doing that. So yeah, unfortunately, we are limited by our source. Oh yeah, take off the ticker. Hey, where's the AADL? Where is it? Thank you for that reminder. Thank you. And you gave me a super chat for that. Thank you, Lisa. That's much appreciated. I'm gonna give you a high five. Streaming on Dolby Vision isn't worth it. Sony runs a watered down version. Yeah, I don't know if it's watered down, but yeah, you're gonna have to calibrate the Sony TVs to get Dolby Vision to be perfect. So I don't know if it's watered down or not. I don't even know what that means, but it's just not accurate right now. The A95K at least. Okay. 65 inch, 1200, AAA program, penny picture scale. Someone just got one for 1250. I mean, you want it down to 1200 now? Come on. Gotta ask. Got the TCL 98-inch QM8 for 2500. Whoa. Now that's a deal. Okay. So I gotta check this. This is crazy. Is Best Buy selling it for that much now? So now it's beating the U8K at 3500. Wow, I love these price wars. TCL QM8. Oh. Okay, it's still 6,000 on Best Buy, but if you got the QM8 for 2,500, that's amazing. Sure, it's not S5. Check the back of your TV quick. Do you think Dolby Vision grading will improve over the next few years, and buying a Dolby Vision capable TV will then be more of an advantage? No, I don't think so. You have to understand how Hollywood production works, or just production, or just corporate America in general. There's a workflow, there's a standard, and directors who do their own thing, James Cameron, Nolan, right? They run the show, they do whatever they want. But then when it's graded for streaming in the home, who's actually in charge? If James Cameron said to the color grader, you make sure this Dolby Vision graded to I want 10,000 nits of specular highlights in the movie, right? Not just the subtitles. I want this, I want that. If James Cameron is overseeing and telling the color grader to do it, they'll do it. But if he's not, he's not even in the room, right? They're grading for a Blu-ray disc. They're just going to follow their same workflow. whatever that is, that you do what you're used to doing. You do not do it outside the box because one, you risk getting fired, and two, no one cares. There is no award. Blu-ray award for the best color grader of a Blu-ray disc. I should ask Dave McKenzie about this because he authors Blu-rays as well, right? Like, do you get a bonus for doing more? No. If anything, they yell at you. So unless you're directed to do more, who's directing you, right? So does your boss get a bonus for taking this risk? If he doesn't get a bonus, corporate America is this. If you don't get rewarded for taking a risk, you don't do it. You don't do it. If you get rewarded for taking a risk, then you do it. And that's why Silicon Valley, people take risks all the time, right? They get funded, they get round A, B, C until they get arrested, but you get rewarded for taking risks. That's Silicon Valley. Hollywood is not Silicon Valley. You do not get awarded for that. So until that changes, everything is going to be graded in under 1,000 nits. And there's an old saying, you never got fired for hiring a Harvard grad because you're playing it safe. No matter how incompetent the Harvard grad might be, you won't get fired because he's a Harvard grad. No differently, no one ever got fired for grading 1,000 nits. No one. It's 1,000 nits. Well, you gonna fire me for that? But you could get fired for grading to 10,000 nits, right? So it's just something to think about. Yes, Dave McKenzie is a goat of encoding physical media. I'll have to ask him. But I think we had to talk about this. It's
I'm not even gonna be mad. I'm just be happy with it.
Thomas. So that's what happened. So Thomas got the QMA for 2,500. It's because he ordered the S5, and the guy's like, S5 QMA, same TV. They're both 98 inches. Let's just give him the QM8, right? Hopefully they don't show up in a truck and take your TV away in the middle of the night. Good job. I love it. Have I directly compared the X93L to the X90L? No, I have not. Sorry, Dan, I have not. And that's why I tell people, get the cheaper TV, and if it looks good, call it a day. Because more often than not, unless you're side by side, get the cheaper TV and you win more often than not if you're coming from an older TV. I see no blood. Did someone screw their hand into the wall?
It just took a little drywall because it's pushing the drywall in further, so the nails just come out. Okay. Because I'm driving this.
Yeah.
These are going in further, and we just want to make sure the TV doesn't fall.
Yeah.
Gotta make sure they're.
Walmart has a C2 65 inch for $13.50. Actually, that's actually not bad at all. So, yeah, I mean, we're close. 65 inch OLED's getting close to 1,000. Next year, it may happen, but I think it'll be the year after. But if LG wants to compete with Mini LED, they might have to drop it to at least maybe 1,100 or 1,200 because 1,350 I think is still too high next year. Yes, I know inflation, all that, but you're gonna have a hard time competing with a 75 inch or 85 inch Mini LED for that much. If they drop their prices down to there, I mean that's just the truth. I mean, ask yourself, if a 75 or 85 inch dropped to 1,200, the quality of a U8K or a QM8. It's going to be hard. It's a hard sell for me to say, oh, get the 65 inch OLED, unless you guys are coming from an OLED, stick with OLED, but it's going to be tough. When did the S90C start getting the second gen panels? And is there a better value OLED than this one? I don't know when they got it. I guess recently, because a lot of people are saying that they've confirmed that it's second gen in the service menu. Is there a better value than the S90C? S89C arguably could be a better value considering it's QD OLED, same panel, 77 inch. That's $19.99 at Best Buy during Black Friday. That was a pretty good value, actually. But yeah, those two are very similar. And on Samsung.com, you can get it for $1,900, right? So for under $2,000, the S90C or S89C, no better deal out there right now in terms of image quality, bang for the buck, all around. Gaming, HDR, sports, just such a good TV.
I'm sure I'll do something wrong. It's the best way
forced to measure 3 times that 2 people question.
Correct, Kimberly. The 77 always had the second gen. It's always the 55 and 65. It's like, I don't know. When is it second gen?
I said you're good.
He's got a list going on his phone.
Yeah.
LG is going to have to significantly revamp the C series for it to survive. Yes. So 2 things. Either drop the price significantly or add some version of MLA for the C series. Just one of those 2. But if they try to compete with the S90C with this price next year, man, I tell you, reviewers are going to call them out. Not going to be good. Which is better for the same price, A90J or C3? I would choose the C3, considering, let's say you get them both calibrated, right? The C3 will be the better TV, I believe now. Because the A90J is not that bright. So you're not getting the A90J because of brightness. Its heatsink was really for durability purposes. The C3 will probably look brighter even. Yeah, that's a great deal, Eric. No doubt. $19.99 for the S89C QD OLED. So here's an interesting one. Andy sold his LG C9 77-inch OLED, which back then was probably closer to 10,000, right? Around 10,000. And on Saturday got a Sony 85-inch X95L mini LED. Let me know if you notice the differences, everything. Let us know. Come back and let us know. This is a pretty interesting upgrade. You're getting the size, you're getting the brightness. I wonder if the infinite contrast, if there's a difference. If there is no difference in overall image quality, we can say mini LED is there for most consumers. Good one.
Yeah, I figured it.
No worries. Get some power.
And this is what I tell you guys. I made the mistake, quack fu. I made the mistake of buying the A80J because it's an OLED. I can't go back to LED or LCD TVs unless it's a 100-inch U8K or something just like large, right? And that's why I always ask you guys, where are you coming from? If you're coming from an OLED, then my recommendation will be different than if you're coming from an LCD TV, because you will notice that change from infinite contrast to finite contrast.
Yeah, I figure we need it.
Not the part where I'm gonna electrocute myself. Oh, this is all metal. Are you serious?
Hey, Matthew, how do you know if the 65-inch S90C has the first gen or second gen panel? So in the service menu, many people have said, I guess it's the APL, AnaPeak, whatever. I haven't memorized the numbers, but if you go to the owner forums, S90C owner forums on AVS forums, they will tell you there's a certain measurement peak. They'll tell you how to get there with the service menu. You have to have a special remote, get into the service menu. And then based on that, it confirms whether you have the older or the second gen or the first gen panel.
Yeah, you don't have to record.
Yeah.
Hey, Ryan, this is a good point, and this is what I've been saying. The B3 is more compelling price-wise than the C3, and especially in the 77-inch size. I think, well, so here's the issue. At 77 inches, the B3 is $19.99. But now that we know the S89C is a QD OLED, is it still compelling? See, this is the problem LG has. Now it's hard for me to really recommend the B3 over the S89C, knowing the S89C is QD OLED. This is hard. LG is having a hard time.
I'm gonna have to take the screwdriver in here and bang it in because they're very difficult, and then I'm gonna have to roll the wire out.
That's still more difficult for you than doing it from there.
What? The S89C is $18.99 at Best Buy? Yeah, really? I gotta see this. No way. I'm on it right now. S89C. If it is, that is definitely a buy.
Like the switches sometimes. I didn't really get a good look because I was like, oh, this is just easier.
Maybe you guys are getting a gift card or something? Let me see here. I'm still seeing $19.99.
Oh, you mean this one over here by the subway?
No, I mean like under the stair area. Sometimes there's.
Yeah, there's a pantry, but there's no ground lines there.
Yeah, there's really it might.
All right. So how are you getting $18.99? Now, $19.99 is a good deal. If it drops to $18.99, it's even better deal. But how are you getting this? What am I missing? Is there some special gift card here? Anyway, let us know what's happening here.
Yeah, this is right there on the other side.
Yeah.
There's a big header board going up the thing, so it's taking up the depth. And I think that's why it's a shallow box.
Yeah.
And it's into the back, so.
See, this whole discussion is way more interesting than the TV. See, I think that's what you should have had, like.
When Samsung wants to dominate an industry, they do it horizontally and vertically, says Doris's mom. Yeah, they definitely take it from as many angles as they can. And with OLED, they're definitely doing it hard. And surprisingly, they're willing to do it at a lower margin. I mean, these prices for QD OLED is not the normal margin that Samsung demands. They really are discounting this close to thin margins and making good money, by the way. Samsung Display still record profits relative to LG Display. So very efficient, great production line, supply chain, everything.
Yeah, I got to pick it up earlier. So you can say like, okay, I can just say, oh, so I ended up taking it off again.
Here's a good question. Kwaku has a point, and I'll ask you guys a question. It's kind of interesting how not even 3 years ago, LG was going to rule the world with OLED. Then Samsung shows up with QD OLED. It'll be fun to see what will dethrone QD OLED in 3 years. So here we are, right? QD OLED makes a splash, pushes WOLED aside, even with MLA, based on price, still pushes it aside. But in 3 years, with blue phosphorescent OLED coming, and for sure Samsung will be using that. It's just we don't know when they're going to use it. Will they use it in 3 years? Maybe, maybe not. But even with blue phosphorescent OLED, we don't expect a performance jump. We just expect higher efficiencies, maybe better, wider color gamut coverage. But even then, we already saw it may not make a difference because content won't change in 3 years. So what can replace it? What are your predictions? What will replace QD OLED in 3 years? Would it be super large TVs at a lower price? That's what the Chinese are banking on. Hisense and TCL are banking on super large mini-LED TVs. In 3 years, we're talking $3,000, 110-inch quality TVs. Every year they progressively fix motion a little bit better, processing just a little bit better. Well, incrementally in 3 years, maybe that's good enough. And Classy wants to caution OLED owners. I don't think an OLED person can go to a larger LCD. The larger the LCD size, the more noticeable the lack of contrast is, and the bigger the black bars are. That's a good point. Is it possible for Samsung to produce an 83-inch QD OLED? Yes, Doris's mom. It is possible. The question is, when will they do it? Will it be next year or the year after? I'm sure they're working on it now. It's just a matter of when, not if. And Matthew says, I almost got the B3, but after getting the S90C down to 1280, work those chat representatives, Matthew. It was a no-brainer. I completely agree. 1280 is an excellent price. Kimberly, you've caused hundreds of people to rush to Best Buy. They're like, no, I missed the deal. Thank you for the correction. It is actually $19.99. Hey, $100 is a lot. During these times, these difficult times, people will go to crazy ends to save that $100. And I thought so too. So Air Jordan SS, the S89C is WOLED, I thought. Everyone thought so, but it turns out it's QD OLED. So Air Jordan, you're going to run out and get it now? But yes, indeed, it is QD OLED. It is very similar to the S90C. And at 77 inches, it's second gen.
But I did we have those magic links. Or like Howl use those, right?
What?
The Howl links.
Howl, yeah.
The magic links would be just like,
And people are getting an open box S89C from $1,816. $1,816. And it was, well, for sure, it was $19.99 during Black Friday, and I think it still is $19.99. But that is really a good price. Okay, good question. A75L or S90C? I would get the S90C. I understand the A75L has XR clear and all that good stuff, but the QD OLED image quality, really, the brightness. I watch a lot of sports. I just find the brightness, the contrast all together. The S90C to me is still the more compelling value, and it's 77-inch size. This A75L only goes up to 65. So at the 65-inch size, I'd still take the S90C. I really like QD OLED. I'm very accustomed to its specular highlights, a slightly brighter APL. But that's because I review TVs, right? You may not notice the difference.
Look at that.
Yeah. I should have filmed it.
Well, you put it up and someone's gonna say, oh, you shouldn't have done that.
They're like, it's gonna be like proof for their.
That's why.
OLED fanboys. There are a lot of us, Doris. Come on. There is a use case for everything. And when it comes to accuracy in a light controlled room, come on. OLED's the way to go, right? And here's classy fanboy. The gap from LCD to OLED is only going to keep growing, not get smaller. See, I think it's going to get actually smaller because I don't think OLED can get that much better. But he's saying more zones aren't helping as OLEDs are getting brighter and more affordable. Okay, the affordability, I completely agree. And I don't know if it's going to get that much brighter, but I think where LCD is really hitting it hard is in the affordable 98-inch size. And I know the contrast sucks, but if people are coming from a sucky LCD TV, this lesser contrast is still better than what they had 10 years ago, right? So if they're coming from an older LCD TV and going straight to 98 inches, I think that's an upgrade that I can stand behind. Now, if you're coming from an OLED, yes, of course, they'll see the difference.
Yeah, like I watched my face, I was like, where am I?
And this is a good point. So a lot of you have seen the ratings longevity test, right? Where OLEDs, LCD TVs, right? Putting it in a pressure cooker of a test, hot room, hot TVs, running 24/7 and the like. And here what we found was the LCDs fail as often and have worse visual defects, DSE, than the potential for burn-in on the OLED. So the OLED may have a little bit of burn-in, but it's not as annoying that just LCD is absolutely failing or the DSE just as visible, if more visible in terms of the splotchiness, and the blooming gets worse over time. So the reality is your TV, whether it's an LCD or OLED, none of them are going to last forever. You pick the image quality that you like for the next 2 or 3 years, and then hope that any TV you get will last beyond 3 years. That's why I say get an extended warranty, 5 years if that's how I'm going to keep it.
I'll go wrap the plastic around the top of it just in case.
I don't think it's gonna stay any, it's a whole lot better out there.
Is it true that QD OLEDs have a higher risk of burn-in than WOLED? Well, Leon, we haven't had QD OLEDs long enough to say that it has a high risk of burn-in. We're going to need ownership of QD OLED TVs for a few more years. I mean, literally, it was released last year, S95B, a few more years. Too early to tell right now. And no, the ratings longevity test does not reflect real world usage. So we cannot really extrapolate what happens on the ratings test as a predictor of whether the QD OLED will last longer or not as long as regular WOLED. Okay.
Oh, what? Oh, the TV's fine. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing more to it.
And Lisa wants you to know, I love QD. I lied. I could resist. Sorry, Lisa. I love it when you have these typos. I love QD. I lied. You guys can hear them chopping up the body. It's like an episode of The Sopranos. Is be the installer really installing a TV or cutting up bones and stuffing it in a bag with all that screaming that's happening back there? All right, guys, I'm gonna check real quick what's happening over there. So play among yourselves, behave. I'll be right back. Put this over here. Okay. I'm gonna have to show you guys what's happening. It's just too funny. So I'll show you a quick update. And what did I miss anything? It's like the cat stuff's out and the rats are playing, right? I'm gonna show you a quick tour of what's happening. This is just too funny. So give me a second. Let me connect my camera. This is too good. I'll be right back. All right. Okay, guys. I'm taking you guys with me now. It's funny. Chana's like, FOMO needs to powder his face, his skin all shiny and sweaty. I'm like, I don't need to because I have a beautifier filter on. All right. Let me plug in my other camera. See you guys. All right, I'll be right back. I think I have to exit and come back in 1 second. There he is. The man is in action. So as you can see, we've been on since like 1:45, 2 o'clock, and 8 holes plus.
He's gonna have to go somewhere else. I invited Paul around the entire world. I'm not like trying to live stream this stuff.
No. Quality takes time. You cannot rush this job. You cannot rush this job. I know, right? So just so you guys know, Chana's been working out, as you can see. He's his job is to hold the dustpan. Apparently, the highlight of my live stream was me getting the double bird.
Oh, wait, this guy. I wasn't kidding you.
Oh no! Hey, guy, it wasn't for me. It was for you guys. That's even better. It's a 97-inch TV, Pete. They're installing 97-inch M3. So I'm gonna let him work because I think I don't want him to feel too self-conscious that the whole world is watching him work. It's the commentary. The commentary is killing him.
I'll stop the I don't know why. Maybe he does, but he's not telling us.
It's a bit okay. So I'll do the quick commentary. So I'm sitting here behind the homeowner, and then I tell him what they're doing. You know, they could have made a mistake this whole time, but they're not saying anything, right? It's like, oh, the TV has 9 holes now.
This is for a TV.
Wait, we're not hanging up.
I didn't make any.
Oh, so while the homeowner was out, he came back. Oh, that wasn't me, man. It was. And so the last comment I heard was, wait, how many holes were there again? So I'm going to have to wrap this up. Apparently, this is going to go until 9 p.m. I didn't realize that. China's like laughing. What? I didn't set up to be in a live stream till 9 p.m. The heck is happening over there? Okay, my friends. Oh, Getty had a super chat. So thank you. Let me check that real quick. I did miss your super chats. Okay. Here you are. Kitty, I returned my A75L. This is my first OLED. Too dark for me. So for me, got so used to LCD brightness that notion once you go OLED, you can't go back is not true. This is a good point, Getty. So Getty, you came from a Hisense U8H, right? U8H, U8G, which is a very bright TV, one of my favorites. And then you got to a U8K, another bright TV. So that is a good point. Sometimes brightness sells, right? This is why Samsung sold so many TVs. The Q8FN, the Q9FN, the Q90R, which I still have, they're all very bright. And once you're used to that bright, impactful HDR, OLED, unless it's like a QD OLED S90C,
it's really hard. A75L is not a QD OLED. It is a traditional, very similar to the C3, right? So yeah, this is a good point for many of you. If you're, and that's why I say, what LCD TV you're coming from. If it's a 10-year-old LCD TV, it's not that bright, right? 100 nits max. But if you're coming from what Getty is coming from, which is last year's Hisense, within the last 2 years, Hisense the last 2 years have been very bright. You might have a problem. Or TCL, the 6 series from last year and the year before, also very bright. I had that TV for a few years, very bright. So yeah, for sure. We're going to try to wrap this up over the next few minutes now, because seeing how things are going, it will take a few hours, and Brandon is doing a phenomenal job. I'm just giving him a hard time. So anyway, so here we are, wrapping up the live stream. Any questions, go ahead and ask. I was hoping to get first impressions of the M3, but I don't know if I could sit here for another 4 hours, and I'm sitting. They used to call it Indian style, but apparently that's not kosher, not Native American friendly, so it's not sitting Indian style. I'm sitting cross-legged in various positions here, and I'm getting a really good yoga stretch for the last 4 hours. So when I got up, as you saw me sit here the whole time, I didn't get up for 3 hours. Like, oh, my hips are cramping up, my knees are cramping, so I had to walk around. Should have worn my this is the time to wear your compression pants, by the way, is when you sit, do a live stream for 4 hours, cross-legged. That's when you wear the compression pants. Okay, let's see what you guys got. Last few questions. Hello, would you go with the 65-inch S90C or the S94BD? I would go with the 65-inch S90C because it's the newer processor. I believe the S94BD is still using the older processor. So take advantage of the new gaming bar processor. And now with the second gen being confirmed on many of the newer S90Cs, you got second gen. I think the S94BD, well, I don't know. You have to get it and check in the service menu. But at least the S90C I know has the newer game bar features. So that might make a difference for some of you, or rather get the cheaper one, right? If the S94BD, I think it's a Best Buy exclusive, maybe Costco might have it too. Unless the price is a few $100s cheaper than the S90C, I'd like to go with a newer one normally. First time OLED buyer, G3 or S95C? Why not the S90C? You get 77-inch, save some money. S95C has the One Connect box. I do not like the One Connect box because it introduces another point of failure. So in this case, I would choose the S90C over the G3 for value, or I get the G3 over the S95C, less point of failure. So we're not even talking image quality. I'm talking about ownership quality, the quality of ownership, meaning over the next few years, are you going to have issues with the One Connect box? I just don't like having my box separate and apart from the TV. There's just too many things. You kick the box back, so you pull the plug out, whatever. And it's just, unless you need it, unless you need the One Connect box, because you're separating your TV from your input-output box, I'm not a fan. And so when will we see you next? I hope to see you guys Saturday's live stream. So I'm going to prepare another video this week. I'm going to release it on Friday. But Saturday, Brian and I are going to have a live stream about CES. We're going to talk about it, our excitement, our expectations. And then I'll be in Japan, holiday vacation during Christmas break. I'm hoping if I could kind of stream there, do some content while I'm there, maybe see the Sony Museum. I don't know. I'll see what I can do. But I'll be in Japan in Tokyo from Christmas until right before CES. I'll fly back and then get ready for CES. So we'll see. Maybe I can do something while I'm in Tokyo. But in the meantime, over the next few weeks, we're gonna have a live stream with Brian. A live stream with Brian every week, building up CES until CES, and we'll be there. We'll do a live stream at CES on Sunday, I want to say. I'll post it as soon as I can. So yeah. Now, OLED is okay. So Paul, this is a great comment. I want to address this before I leave because this is something that many of you probably don't know. Now that OLED is over 1,000 nits, I don't get the brightness argument anymore. 1,000 nits is 1,000 nits. That is not entirely accurate. 1,000 nits on a 1% window, correct. OLED can do that, but its full window brightness is very limited. We're talking 250 nits, under 300 nits, maybe 300 nits. If a full window brightness is required, only an LCD mini LED TV can get to 500 nits full window. And if your content is asking for 500 nits full window, OLED cannot do that. As a matter of fact, if your content asking for a full scene, let's say full scene is 250 nits, right? The full scene, and then specular highlights of 1000 nits, OLED cannot do that either. So this is where we are today. OLED in a dim scene, specular highlights up to 1000 nits, nails it better than LCD. But in a brighter scene, where it's 300 nits average, but specular highlights are 1000 nits, OLED in the future, maybe right now, the ABL, the automatic brightness limiter, is limiting that because power consumption or power, energy, longevity, I mean, just all of that, right? The power board will not allow an OLED TV to hit 1000 nits with the rest of the scene at 400 nits. Not going to happen. So yes and no. We're not there yet. We will never see, I can say this with confidence, OLED will never have 1000 nits full screen, ever. Not that we need it, I'm just saying. So there is no such thing as a 1000 nit full screen OLED, doesn't matter what size, right? So yeah, but thanks for that comment, Paul. Hopefully that kind of clarifies this whole 1000 nits. 1%, less than 1%, sure, we're there, but that's not enough, not enough. Paul, do many scenes ask for that? Mad Max. Mad Max, the scene with the fire, right? It could, right? They're in the desert. It's a bright scene, and the fire is even brighter. These are the kind of scenes that is not possible. So the color grader knows it's not possible, so they don't do it. They're like, what TV can do this? So they don't do it. But they could, because in that scene where they're running through the desert towards the sandstorm, the race through the desert towards the sandstorm, you have this bright sun. That should be 10,000 nits, but they don't even try, right? But that scene could be done way better, but the TVs can't handle it. And that's the point, right? You know, chicken and egg. Should the content do it first and the TV follow? Well, in this case, the content is actually pretty bright. TVs, we don't know. No TV is capable of that true representation. So we'll have to see. But yeah, not all movies do this. That's why I always say it's a handful of movies. But Paul, this goes to your point though. It's not really 1000 nits, is it? When you go to 5%, it's not 1000 nits anymore. OLED cannot do 1000 nits on 5%. So, you know, 5% is reasonable. Come on, right? I mean, giant sun, it's about 5% window, right? So just something to think about, Paul. Something to look forward to and work towards. All right, everyone. Hey, thanks for hanging out. I am sorry that all we got to see was 8 holes in the wall and the double bird. I had a good time with you guys, and we're gonna definitely be surprised how good this looks when Brandon is done. Hopefully he puts it up this weekend, maybe next weekend. But until next time, my friends, stop the FOMO. Hey, and thank you for all the super chats. Let me think if there is anything else. And no, I think all your super chats, right? All right. Nuclear Crypto. I think the master monitor is OLED. It hits 1000 nits full screen. No, does not. It's brighter than normal OLED, but does not. But we'll talk to FSI at some point, and we'll see what they say about that. All right, my friends. Until next time, stop the FOMO.